Hello and welcome to Too Fast, Too Forever. There's all kinds of family. We chose this one. This is episode 104, Hobbs Shaw, Lap 6. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe too, and this episode's brought to you by McLaren. No restraints, no limitations. They don't simply push boundaries, they completely rethink them. Shout out to McLaren.
Shout out to McLaren indeed. Well, we are here to talk about the final Fast and Furious movie this lap. We are going to be joined after the break with Garrett Smith of the I Like to Movie podcast.
Which is a
Joe,
great
before
title.
we get there, extracurricular activities, what have you been up to since we talked to Garrett a couple days ago?
I did one of my favorite things ever this weekend, which is I performed a hard mental reset on myself, which involves taking a bunch of acid and watching Planet Earth. I spent all day watching Dynasties, as David Attenborough would say. Yeah, have you seen it?
No, but I know about Jumpkin because of your Twitter.
You've seen Planet Earth, but you've never seen Dynasties, right?
Yeah, I feel like I don't know if I've seen the entirety of Planet Earth, but I've seen
Planet
a
Earth
lot
is-
of those types of shows.
Yeah, Planet Earth is kind of like one of those shows that you would put on like a TV, like at like a store to like show what a TV should look like,
Exactly.
right?
Yep.
It's like, because it's like, here's like some orcas and here's some dolphins and like, here's some doing cool things. Dynasties, though, was like you follow like one animal and essentially like one pack of that animal, right? And they're like, okay, like this is the like alpha and like this is his kids or her kids and like this is how like that pack works. We're watching it and the first one's about chimps. So that they like come out and they're like, this is like David. He's like the alpha chimp here. We're gonna, follow David and like the people that are trying to like overthrow his dynasty. And so they're like, he has rivals. And so they're like showing him and they're like eating or whatever. And they're like, trouble's afoot. So they show this other chimp walk up, right? And he just like picks up a branch and just like chucks it just like an angry teenager. You know what I mean? Like, like when like a teenager comes in, like slams a door and you're like, what the fuck are you doing? It's like, okay, the chimp does that and they're like, and this is Jumpkin. And you're like, okay, what? Like the monkeys' names are David and then they're like, oh, and there's Jumpkin's friend Luther. So like they named the monkeys David, Luther, and then somebody named one Jumpkin. We're like, how was that a possible thing? And so, we spent like many hours just cackling at the idea that they named one of the monkeys Jumpkin yesterday. And like, how do you even get there? Like, was it like, I can only imagine that like one of the producers' like children was like, look at that monkey, like look at him jumping, like I'm gonna call him Jumpkin. And then they're like, but we have David and Luther, like we can't.
I do wonder if like his name was Pumpkin originally and then he just jumped around a lot and they just changed it. But even like Pumpkin doesn't even fit with David and Luther.
That's what I'm saying. Like you can't give them two like real human names and then like if they were like Pumpkin, Jumpkin, and Lumpkin, like okay, cool, like I get it, like you named the monkey something goofy. But no, they give them like two like human names and then Jumpkin. That was what I was doing yesterday. Then I watched a lot of Blue Planet. It was beautiful, watching 4K.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yesterday, so I recorded 2 episodes of High School Summer Party with Brian yesterday. We did the episode that came out yesterday, which is his sophomore year superlatives, the year-end
Oh yeah, you were going to be the host. He told me that.
Yes.
He told us that, yeah.
So the awards were out yesterday, so you can go listen to that episode.
Cool.
And then coming out this upcoming Monday, Brian is concluded Cheer Mondays. He was doing cheerleader movies. You and Rachel were on that. You were on a couple times. I was on at least once, I think. Maybe I wasn't. Was I on Cheer Mondays? I don't remember.
I felt like you said you were going to be on one.
Did I? I don't remember. But what I do kick off this Monday with our favorite, Kate Hudson, we kick off Babysitting Mondays with Adventures in Babysitting. So that might be a spoiler or teaser.
I might have a movie that is a Lifetime movie that I might do for Babysitting Mondays. Just saying.
Of course.
It's not recorded yet, but there's been talks, behind the scenes paperwork done. Think that you're probably gonna get a Joe 2 Lifetime Babysitter movie too. And
I would expect nothing less.
Fucking good one. The one that I watched, incredible.
Also yesterday I had some friends who were self-isolating, self-quarantining come down. They were with family cool. And then they came up and they were here for a couple hours yesterday.
How'd it go?
So it was exciting to see them. That was good.
Did you social distance?
No, because we were quarantining, so we were, both
you guys were behaving.
Reasonably yes, we were both reasonably confident. Actually, I saw a tweet. I retweeted this. I don't know if you saw this, but I
didn't
saw
look
a
at my
tweet
phone
that
all day yesterday. But
very much enjoyed. It was, those who have stayed inside, wore masks in public, and socially distanced during this entire pandemic are the same people who are used to doing a whole group project, by themselves, which is like, yeah.
I never did the whole group project by myself. I would definitely do like at least my part. I wasn't the kid that like mailed it in and didn't do any. I wasn't the person that would like take charge to do all of it because like I hate that. But like I would give you a nice packaged segment I would do just enough. That's like the story of my life, right? I just do just enough that is, as you can attest to, just barely enough to be like competent. That relates really well. I feel like we should have like people of quarantine like free days. You know what I mean? Like if you get your card stamped 7 days in a row, you're allowed to go outside.
Well, that's what's like really annoying is that I'm going around like, okay, so I don't want to be a downer on the podcast, but obviously cases are spiking, and if you walk around,
PA just reclosed bars. My mom just texted me and said PA reclosed their bars.
And Texas reclosed their bars, and Texas ramped down their capacity in restaurants and stuff like that because cases are spiking. It's frustrating to me as someone who basically, not that I ever really go out a ton, but I would be going out a lot more than I am, to see everybody just basically be like, I don't give a shit, like, doesn't matter, it doesn't impact me.
We just got bored. Yeah, it was like, once the protests happened, everybody was like, okay, we're done, and it's like,
and what that means to me is that I'm going to be home, like, this is not going to end anytime soon, because we have not, like, since it rose for the first time when we tried to first flatten the curve, we went down a little bit, and then it has not dipped since then, and so
it just like plateaued. We didn't like dip, we just plateaued.
We're not better off. I mean, we're closer in theory to like a vaccine, but that's still not soon, or you know what I mean? So this is not ending anytime soon, and I feel like it's very frustrating as someone who has like stayed home and not gone out. Exactly, has behaved, has followed, been safe, and not put other people at risk. To be like, okay, cool. So we got another 3, 6, 9, 12 months of this, maybe more.
It's gonna be a while. We have to hope. It doesn't seem like it, but at the beginning we were hoping that the virus doesn't do well in heat. Like if you heat it, you can deactivate it. So they were hoping that, like, as temperatures rose, spread would...
Well, that's not true.
Yes, exactly. They were hoping, like, summer would kind of, like, make it that it's, like, killing, like, airborneness. So that, and, like, if people quarantined, if they did have it, then we could, like, kind of, you know, tone it down a lot. But you're right, yeah, it wasn't true. Everybody's still spreading it, and people want to go to bars and stuff like that. I saw a great tweet. It was a picture of a girl drinking on the beach in Miami, all of them passing around one bottle, and then a YouTube video from, like, the next week that was like how I got coronavirus and like what my symptoms were. Yeah, just behave.
Speaking of Twitter, the other thing I'm trying to figure out right now, and I got to the bottom of this, do you know about Fajita Wife?
No, what is this? Tell me. I don't even know the beginning of this.
You know, like sometimes you go on Twitter and people are talking about a thing, it's like, I don't know what this is, but it's clearly something that just happened.
Yeah, you're not in on the inside joke.
Somebody references Fajita Wife, and I search on Twitter for Fajita Wife.
Sounds like something I want.
And I search for Fajita Wife, and everything is just talking about the thing, and it's not the original thing. So I found out that this guy originally deleted his tweet, but... this guy, it's so dumb. It's not that great, but like, you know, what Twitter takes and runs with a thing.
Yeah, I love it.
But this guy, opinionated much, podcast, so again, a podcaster, just the worst of us, at JSV4, tweets at Nicochina Tex-Mex, says, my wife, is a picture of his wife, it says, my wife, date night after 3+ months locked up in quarantine. Waiting for shredded cheese as it's the only way she can eat fajitas. We've asked 4 people, going on 18 minutes now. Just unreal at Allen, Texas location. We gotta quit blaming hashtag COVID-19 for crappy service.
Wow.
And it's just a picture of Fajita Wife.
Can you send it to me?
It's just like this woman very sadly looking at her tray of food, and there's like,
oh
let me see if I can find the full picture.
She's so impressed. This is hilarious. I have a Fajita Wife, but Rachel would just be really sad if she didn't have like 50 different types of sauces.
It's just her sadly looking at food like, come on, man, I've been in quarantine, I can't get shredded cheese. It's like we've all been in quarantine, and like, stop.
Also, you're in a restaurant, you assholes. Like, this is the whole thing. I was watching Superstore the other day, you know, because like I've been continuing along with that show just because, like I said, it's so wholesome and it just makes us really happy. One of the characters on the show that like had like left or died, or I don't know, something happened to this character, and they're like, oh yeah, he has a podcast and it's called Celebrities I Would Bang, and it's just like 2 hours long of him just like listing celebrities he would bang, and it's like Meryl Streep in 1942, Meryl Streep in 1945, and like it was like one of the yeah, I know, it was so great. So I was just dying about that, and when you brought up he was a podcaster, I remembered it, and I meant to tell you that joke earlier. So
We have an email address here on the show, family@cageclub.me. And Joe, we got a bunch of emails. And I was telling you that as we were recording with Garrett the other night, we got a bunch of emails in, and a bunch of them have pictures. So I'm going to have to hit you up with some pictures here.
okay, so that means they're not all car pictures. That means there's some like sharing pictures. That's cool.
So first email from Jerry Robinson, subject line 1327.
What up, Jerry? How are
Jerry
you doing,
says, "Hey guys, just a quick email, but I forgot to share that around 5 or 6 years ago, one of my friends from high school went to the Toretto home, and here's a pic of it. That's also his Dodge, too."
bud? Yeah, he got a Charger here.
I don't. What's that yellow building in front?
It's not in
Oh,
front.
it's
the
it's
side.
next to it.
Yeah,
That's like a weird optical illusion. Doesn't it kind of look like it's in front?
Yeah, the tree like kind of cuts like right through where it is. Yes, it did. When you said it, I was like, yeah, and then I had to like actually look in, and I was like, oh no, it's
Like
beside
where the
it.
side of the roof goes behind 1327, it looks like it sort of ends there and then comes down, but I guess it goes on and continues. That's weird. I didn't.
Yeah, it's just the perspective and like the flattening of the picture, but it's a cool picture. I don't have a cool enough car to like want to take like a car picture in front of it. Plus, I mean, I guess if you were like living in California, it would be a lot
You live
easier.
in California, but like if we went out there, we would
Yeah.
rent a car probably, so we'd have to rent a cool car.
Or we could just like rent a really shitty car and like take a picture like it was ours.
Our next email, we got a bunch from him, is from Nick Burris. Subject line, "Caught up at Steamy Horn Muffin, Ellie, LOL."
Oh, so Nick listened.
First thing, back to Midnight Run, I think. We talk about pickpocketing and nobody remembered Roman twice. Both caught, I'll take my cutter back. Cigar cutter.
Oh, that's right. I guess I wasn't thinking of it like pickpocketing. It just like that's more of like general theft, right? But yeah, I
Actually-
get it. It's related.
Another Roman too fast correction that I want to say is that we were talking about how there's not Winnebagos in Fast and Furious.
Oh,
but Roman
you're
has a
right.
Winnebago in Fast and Furious and Too Fast.
Fuck, you're right. Yep, you're absolutely right.
It's one of those epiphanies where I was like, I'm editing the podcast and I'm just like, oh, wait,
Fuck.
no, like we're wrong. We're both objectively wrong and we just didn't remember in the moment.
Yep, 100%. You're right.
Nick says, also talking about the Brian's pillow scene. It's Brian's fault and decision because Tanner says they're going to move on Johnny unless you say otherwise, making it seem that if Brian would have said no, they might not have hit Tran.
Mm-hmm.
I get where he's coming from. I think that was what you were saying, but I still think that, like, Tanner calls and is like, Bilkins is doing this. If you say no, we'll stop it. It made it seem like it was Bilkins' decision. Like, maybe Brian can dissuade them, but it's not like Brian's fault. It's like Brian could have stopped it, but
I
like
think
it was
it's ostensibly
Bilkins'
Brian's
call.
fault because Brian got the information. I mean, it is Bilkins' call just because he's the manager. It's like
He's the Karen of this group.
no, you blame the structure, like the person in charge, right? It's
As
ultimately
we talked about,
it is
shit
his
trickles
fault.
downhill, right? When we're
Yeah.
talking about that, like, they can blame it on Brian even if it was ultimately Bilkins' decision.
It is. Bilkins has final call on it, but I think Brian played a huge role in how he was wrong. So
Nick says we've been on a roll with awesome guests lately. Keep it up. Well, we got another great one this episode, so just
Garrett's
stay tuned.
great. Yeah, I agree.
He says, I love Smokey and the Bandit, especially rewatching it as a driver. Some points, though. This load was way overweight. They would have had to load the beer in the side of the trailer. Unless he just pushed each pallet one by one, they were not wrapped up anyways enough with the loading.
That's a very technically good truck driver point.
I think we were calling on him, right? We were asking, saying like, Nick, give us your truck driver
Yeah.
expertise. So he did. He delivered.
Yeah, that's
literally and
makes sense.
figuratively.
Yeah, nice pun. I like that. That was
He
cute.
says, one more thing. When they took that turn in the truck in the fairgrounds, the trailer was either empty or tape was sped up, or both, because that would have rolled over. It was way too fast for that turn, and the weight would have pushed the trailer on its side, especially with it being liquid and way overweight. But when you're bootlegging, just go for it. 'Cause it means more to me now since it's a car/truck movie.
Yeah, the beer's heavy, man, and it would slosh. He's right. Like you would get like a nice rocking from the liquids.
I'm also glad, and I know that he wrote in last episode, but I'm glad that Nick watches along with us. I think, like, I would like to, like, I watched along for a long, long time with How Did This Get Made when they covered the movies, but doing
Yes.
2 a week, it's a big ask. So I'm glad that Nick,
He has been. He's messaged us about it too. Takes a little bit longer to listen because he likes to watch the movies before we talk about them. So
Yep,
he's like,
yep.
yeah, he's watching along.
He says the paint jobs alone were very expensive, but in my travels, I've seen one that's painted like the truck. Oh, cool! Remember the decorated side.
Yeah, with like the horses and stuff. Yeah.
And then he says, I'll send another email, which he did, with pics of a little custom work on his truck. He says, plus I do have a
Cool.
quote, Fred, that rides with me, with this company. So I'll show you that
Oh,
next.
nice.
So it's the Ferrari Minute. They didn't break in the engine. I assume they redid all the internals of the block. Since they had the engine out, all that work, I would have done it.
Okay.
He says, my favorite band when this movie came out was Saliva, and I still like them, but they changed lead singer, so it's not the same thing, but it's a perfect song. The build-up, I just love it.
It is a great song. The soundtrack is great in general, but yeah.
He says, happy birthday, Joe, too, and happy
Thank you.
100th. Of course, I missed the watch party just because I was behind, but hopefully I can keep up.
Well, Nick, he also sent us an email, and I already, linked him to the Discord watch party channel, so that next watch party he's already set up. So hopefully
he posted that he was in there, so we're all good there. He says the dating game was very cool, interesting, and funny on the clues and answers. That's 2 for 2. Hector liked it, and Nick liked it, so I'm glad.
That was a fun idea. I'm glad it worked out too.
The Aqueducts are not in the movies, as far as I remember, but the mobile game that came out, you race through them a lot. So we were talking about that until Live and Die in LA, because it feels like they should be in the movies, but
it almost feels like it is, right? Like in my brain, you could put Brian in his Eclipse there, or his Super there, and I'd have been like, oh yeah, that was in the movie. Like if you photoshopped a picture of Brian sitting in front of his car in the aqueducts, I'd be like, oh yeah, I just don't remember that part.
And I still don't have a better explanation than I did that episode, where just like it just feels like they should be. Like we've seen it enough in enough other things that it feels like it should be there. But and then talking about Live and Die in LA, wow, cool movie, lots of twists. I noticed a sort of fast connection in that beautiful blue Ford truck. There was a roll cage. Might not have noticed it, but he had the guy handcuffed to it, so it was cool.
That's very cool. I didn't catch that.
And the girl had said that the stars were God's eye. Like, she didn't want to go outside at night. So we were talking about God's eye, and I didn't remember the line, but stars are God's eye. Cool?
Yeah, that is cool. But I did like the God's eye touch, right? Like, that's really nice.
Yeah. Says, what to say about Lifespan besides I love Joe's voice. It made me laugh, and I'm glad you did it again. Because I missed little things, but how steamy this is going to be, considering this is only Chapter 5. Hope you're planning Chapter 6 too this lap, which we are. You'll have another one in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
I'm definitely excited to see how Mia reacts at lunch.
Well, we do. We get to the diner, so I read ahead. It's interesting. Yeah.
Very exciting. It says, anyways, taillights, bitch, 4 horsemen out, LOL, Nick.
Thanks for writing in, Nick. I'm glad you watched along too, bud.
So then Nick says, pics from my last email had to do on my phone. So this first email is, I emailed back, I was like, this is adorable. This is his Fred, essentially. It's Pippa, his road dog.
Oh my god, is it a little Yorkie? It's so cute.
Very cute.
Yeah.
Especially considering the next picture, he has his 18-inch extension shifter and steering wheel knobs painted the same. Like, just thinking about how big the truck is and how tiny that little dog is.
Oh, yeah, like,
great.
The comedy of, like, the disparity in their sizes. Yeah, I agree.
And then he sends a picture of the front of his truck, and then specifically on here, he's got the little custom
hood ornament.
The hood ornament patched to match the shifter. So yeah, very
cool.
That
is cool. Yeah, I like that. That's really neat. It's like this little blue car with like a huge header in the front of it. It actually kind of looks like the top of Dom's Charger, right?
Yeah. And then he sends out a car picture, that email too, which I'll save for later. But thank you, Nick, for sending that in. And then he follows it up quickly with, and CB radios are sort of dead. Not as much traffic nowadays, but still some communication, mostly used for accidents or the shippers. So cool.
Yeah,
I mean, because we were asking, like, does it still exist? And I'm sure it still exists, but, like, there's other ways of getting around, right? Or other ways of talking, so.
I would imagine that, like when Nextel came out, it probably was like... But he's right. Like, I mean, like, what can you replace CB radios with that would be, like, for accidents and stuff like that? I guess you always kind of need them.
I mean, like, Waze exists, right?
Yeah, but I mean, like, if you were, like, a trucker, would you want to use Waze?
Then Nick sends in one more email, and he says, sticker placement, says, been there for a while, but it's special. This is a picture of his toolbox.
Let me see.
He's got a Tampa Bay Buccaneers picture. He's got an American flag. He's got Chris Kyle sticker. He's got a monster truck sticker. He's got Chicken Willie sticker. Right in the middle of it all. Too fast, too forever.
Dude, if you're a Bucs fan, you fucking lucked out, didn't you? We were like talking
Tampa
about
Bay.
Tampa Bay. You got Gronk and TB12. It's also cool on your toolbox. That's actually where Matt put his. He put one of his on his toolbox. So
Justin emails in, subject line Braga. He says, every time I see Fast and Furious 4, I wish Braga was played by Luis Guzman. Every time.
Oh, really? I like the dude that plays Braga, but I wouldn't mind if it was Luis Guzman too.
Yeah.
I like both. That's a good idea.
Justin also writes in again, separate email, Blues Brother episode.
What's up?
And he says, a few notes on the newest episode. Thanks for covering it. Well, thank you for paying us to cover it. I mean,
thanks for
as much on
picking
you
it,
as
man.
it is on us.
I loved it. I mean, it was a great... I wanted to watch Blues Brothers again soon, too, so...
He says, I totally remember the Wendy's salad bar. When I was a kid, I remember my mom using it when we went there, which I didn't know. I guess it's a thing. I guess Wendy's had salad bars, which is crazy.
Yeah, I don't remember one, dude. I don't remember one. I remember Pizza Hut, but not Wendy's.
So I think you're right, Joe. The honky-tonk talk probably did get my mind thinking about that Blues Brothers scene. I've always wished bars like that still existed. They probably do in Wes's part of the world, but certainly not up here in Minneapolis. We had one that sort of did and played a lot of country and rockabilly acts, but it closed up about a year ago. Look up Dale Watson, Joe. He's been around a long time and he still tours.
Dale
And he owns
Watson.
a bar in Nashville. He plays old school honky tonk, real fun to see.
I'm gonna save this. I remember two places that I did go to like bars like this was one, like you said, Nashville. I'm not like a country music. Actually, you know what? When we went to Nashville, I happened to be there during the Country Music Awards. Did you remember that? Did I tell you that?
I don't think so.
So they were having the Country Music Awards in Nashville, and like we happened to have like a work conference in Nashville at the exact same time. How those ever aligned, I have no idea.
It means that somebody messed up.
But I mean, the conference wasn't too big. It wasn't like my normal huge work conference. It was like in a hotel, like in the ballroom type things, right? But like the first 2 nights we were there, it was like the Country Music Awards, so everybody was like, the bars were just slammed on Broadway there, and everybody was like trying to like get into a bar to see if like Taylor
Right.
Swift would perform there or something, right? And I was like, oh god, I'm just staying away from this.
It probably would have been a lot of fun. I mean, it would have been crowded, but it probably would have been a lot of fun.
Yes, it would have been
I
fun.
guess it depends on what you're looking for. If you just want if you just want to drink and just not deal with people, that's not where you want to be.
Exactly. And like I'm like I even like we said, like I like the honky tonk kind of music. So drinking at a bar there is fun, but then if there's like a million people and you know, they're all wooing, I don't want to be there. So I would just
Right.
go to bars that were like a little bit outside of like the main strip of Nashville, and I had a wonderful time. And there was always live music there too because like, you know, the main acts like from the Nashville part kind of got like pushed. Dallas has a lot of fun like honky tonk kind of bars too.
Justin continues, one of my favorite parts of Blues Brothers is the final chase when they reach downtown Chicago. They go driving through Lower Wacker Drive. It's the underground part of the chase. For those who don't know about it, Lower Wacker is the grid of streets below downtown that allow delivery vehicles to access the skyscrapers. Most Chicagoans are afraid of driving down there. One, because of all the homeless people, and two, because it's easy to get lost. He says, maybe not now, but I didn't have Google Maps back then. But also, like, I don't know, you get great cell service down underneath, right? Like, if you
No.
can't access the satellite, Google Maps doesn't help.
Yeah, exactly. And it kind of reminds me of have you ever driven to Boston or through Boston?
No, I've driven into Massachusetts, but I've taken a train from wherever I wound up into Boston. I've never actually driven in Boston.
Like when you come into Boston, like if you're driving up 95 like we do, there's like a part like as you're coming into Boston, it's like one of the most hectic, chaotic places to drive because it's the same deal that you're like under this bridge, like you're under the road, right? So like you get no GPS service and all the like exits are like immediate, and if you miss one, you turn like you have to go all the way down and around and come back because somehow you can't like cut back through the city. That's what that freaks me out about, and I always hate driving in Boston, so I'm sure that I would hate driving in this Chicago underground road place too.
When I lived there, I used it all the time, and if you knew what you were doing, you could drive through in rush hour and get from one side of downtown to the other super fast. In the
Sounds
first
cool.
Christian Bale Batman movie, so I guess Batman Begins, they filmed a bunch of scenes down there. I remember it made the news because someone crashed into the Batmobile during filming.
Oh god.
Also, there was a great story of a homeless guy who had built an apartment in one of the lift bridges with electricity and everything. It was
that
a
is
bridge
really
just like the
cool.
one they had in Too Fast. He had meticulously strapped everything down so it would remain in place when the bridge would open for the boats. People were really upset when it was discovered, and he was kicked out.
I mean, I think at that point you get like squatters' rights, right? Like,
I would think so.
if he built it all up and had electricity and shit, I'd be like, you know what, bud, you won. Eminent domain here. Like, this is yours now.
I also do like him, like the idea of him strapping everything down. Like reminds me of like a movie or a TV show or a music video where like the stage, like the camera rotates, like Inception, where like everything is like tied down because like the whole you're always walking on the ground, but like as Joseph Gordon-Levitt is like running up the wall to like fight the guy or whatever. Like
Yeah.
that's always where the bottom of the moving set is. If there's like a table there in the hallway of the hotel and there's like flowers and a phone or whatever, like they're just like glued down or whatever's there. So I'm just thinking like the guy being like, oh yeah, like this is my stuff, but I need to strap it all down so that when the bridge opens, you know, it doesn't all slide down to the bottom.
What you were saying that all it reminded me of was the Jamiroquai Virtual Insanity music video. That's what I was thinking of when you were just describing that.
And then he ends it with, lastly, about Neptune's Net ashtrays. I checked my photos from when I was there in 2015. If you zoom in, there are none. They appear to have been replaced with pigeon spikes. I bet they went away with California's smoking bans. in the early 2000s.
Oh, cool. Okay, so yeah, Justin sends us a picture, and yeah, he doesn't have the ashtrays that kind of like bookend the table like we were talking about. Yeah, it would track. I can't even find any pictures of if they were ashtrays. I'm assuming that they're ashtrays, right? Did we kind of come to that conclusion?
I don't have a better answer. I think if it's not ashtrays, I don't know what it could be. So I'm
Exactly.
happy saying it's ashtrays.
Okay, cool. That's the kind of answer that I'm getting to too. When did Justin say this was?
I think he said 2015, so fairly recently.
Fairly
But
recently, but
if he said the smoking bans in the early 2000s, which would make sense, like maybe this movie was one of the last relics that captured
the
those
ashtrays,
immortalized them on screen.
R.I.P. Everybody smoking in bars. I miss
It's
it.
still crazy to me to like watch a movie from back then and like see people like smoking on airplanes or just anywhere. It's just like, oh, we were
Airplanes
so
freaks me out. In a bar, like, come on, man.
People asking like, do you want to sit in the smoking section or the non-smoking section on the plane? It's like we're in an enclosed space, right? Like, oh, we're all gonna get the smoke, right? Like, it's not.
Yeah, food places freak me out. I don't think the restaurant should sell you, but if you serve just alcohol, like, why not, man?
I don't know how it's possible. There are still places. There's at least one bar in Philly that allows smoking, and when I went on
Here
like
too.
a bar crawl a couple years ago with friends, we went to one of those. I was like, this is disgusting. Like, why? Like, I don't smoke. Like, if you don't smoke, there's zero reason why you would want to be in one of those places. I don't remember if anybody in my group even smoked, but I don't remember any of them smoking. Like, it was just like a bar to go to be like, hey, we went to the smoking bar, but it's like, yeah, this sucks. Like, why? I don't want to be here.
Yeah, but if you are a smoker, okay, the thing that pisses me off is that, like, you can ban smoking, right? And, like, you can kind of do it in California where it's, like, warm out, so, like, you can go outside most of the time. In Pittsburgh, in February, what the fuck am I gonna do? Like, that's just I mean, like, not even that I would smoke in the house either, so that, I guess, yeah. I'm not a smoker anymore, but it's still frustrating. I'm like, I think you should do it. It's like a vice goes hand in hand. I feel like it's more of like a principles thing than anything else for me right now. And it doesn't need to be every bar. Like I don't think that like every bar should like mandatorily have smoking. I'm saying that like if you want to, you should be like, this is a bar. We just serve beer and alcohol. Like you can smoke in here. And then if people don't want to show up because they hate smoking, fine. It's just your call.
Our next email is from Alex Ellen in subject line $25 for whole lap? He says, the fuck Alex lap. Just all the shit you guys have said is not worth watching. Heard you guys were talking shit about Friends, huh? Well, there's 236 episodes to cover for a lap.
Just like one episode of Friends.
He says, no, I'm fucking with you, maybe. But Joe, I'm sorry to hear about your dad and your parents' dog. Actually, before we get to the heavy part of the email, it's not $25 for a lap. It's $25 a month.
True.
Basically, a lap spans 3 or 4 months. It's like $100, which is still, it's a stupid amount of money. We know that.
Yes.
But like,
yeah.
Considering you're also picking 30 things,
Yeah.
it's a lot different than picking like 9 things, right? Like, it's a major difference, but... Yeah.
Yeah.
Says, Joe, I'm sorry to hear about your dad and your parents' dog, but I'm glad
you,
your
brother.
pops is doing better now.
He's pretty good. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it, bud.
He says, I'm about the same age as you guys, and we're at the age where we're coming to terms with our parents' mortalities, and it sucks. My thoughts are with you, bud.
Yeah, I think that was probably like the part of it that shook me up the most is just like gripping the fact of that, like, I don't know, I've always like imagined my parents being like a little bit older than me, but like not old, right? So that's something that's hard to deal with.
Says, thought I could help cheer you up with pictures of my pup, because what better way to honor cute dogs than by pictures of more cute dogs? This is Nova, the hippo.
Oh, what a bean! I love pit bulls, man. They're really cute. Like, I always told Rachel, if we got a dog, the list is like Rottweiler, Doberman, or pit bull. Those are like the 3 dogs I would get her. Like a nice big dog that just loves her. I don't even care if that dog doesn't like me. I just want it to like really only protect Rachel. I would definitely get a pit bull. And this is a cute one too.
I like that in the first picture it looks like he's a Vikings fan.
Oh, because he got like the little the horns
on the helmet. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is cute. I like it.
Thank you, Alex, for writing in our last email from Wes Hampton. Subject line, episode 100 and Blues Brothers. What up, fam?
What up, Wes? How are you doing, bud?
Says, really good last few episodes. Glad to hear everything is going relatively well for you, Joe, after your crazy, stressful week.
Thank you.
We've had some real ups and downs this past week as well, and now we have to drive out to Arizona for about a week to deal with some family stuff. We're going from one hot spot to another, so that's both exciting and terrifying. Wish us luck! COVID hotspots, I'm sure. Yep.
Hang in there. I hope everything works out good for you, too. Hopefully that I can share a little bit of my everything worked out good karma with you. I'll send some good vibes your way. That's funny that you're going from one hotspot to the other, though. Yeah, Texas to Arizona.
It reminds me of a David Cross joke where he talks about moving from Atlanta to Boston and about how like both cities are incredibly racist. He's like, it's like from out of the frying pan and into the other frying pan. It's just like they're not better, it's just differently racist. So it's like it's not better, it's just differently COVID.
Yeah. I like that.
It says, in the meantime, I figured I should get my email in now so it doesn't stack up too much. Here are my notes.
Okay.
You talked about how the series shifts around the fourth movie and that new fans could pick up from there because it kind of erases one, but I disagree. I think one is still a necessary watch because it sets up the relationships in the movie. And if you look at the plot, 4 is actually very similar to 2. They're both about Brian and a partner with whom he shares a complicated past, going undercover as racers to catch a drug lord. That's a high-level view of it, but the main difference is the tone and the motivations of the characters. But it really feels like 4 would have been the more natural sequel to 1. Brian's arc would have made more sense for sure. Going from cop to wanted criminal to FBI is a weird jump, but I always wondered why he ran after 1 instead of telling the FBI he was chasing Dom. There was an accident, Dom overpowered him and took his car,
which would have
while
made
Brian
sense.
was trying to arrest him. Yeah, absolutely.
That would have made total sense. I like that, and I agree. I think that the point is more like you could start with 4, not that you could skip 1.
Right, because I think we would agree, and even though we like 2, like if there's one to skip, it's 2, and if there's another one to skip, it's 3. Like you
Exactly,
don't need
that's my
those.
point. Yep, 100%.
I think to a certain extent, I think I would stick by my guns that I think you can kind of skip 1, but you can skip it less than you could 2 or 3.
I don't think that you could fully skip it. I'm just saying you could start with 4. You could probably go like 4, 5, 6, and then go like 1, 7.
That would be weird. Okay, maybe. Wes says Brian would have been in trouble, but it's not an unbelievable story. Anyway, I've often wondered if this was based on the original script for Too Fast that they wrote with Dom still involved. So think about that the next time you watch it and let me know what you think.
Interesting.
But I mean, really, when will we ever watch Too Fast again? I don't think we have any plans for that.
Wes is 100% right. Brian could just lied his way out of the end of 1. He didn't need to run away.
Just like it's a remake of Point Break, he doesn't want to be a cop at the end, right? Like he runs away on purpose. Like he runs away because he wants out of that life.
And it also kind of makes 2 make more sense that they like have to like come kind of get him. You know what I mean? That they're like, no, you have to be a cop again, or like confront that you're dealing with this, and then he gets back into the cop lifestyle. So in that sense, yeah, it kind of makes more. It's better that way. But 2 and 3 are kind of, you could skip them if you wanted. Like if they just went straight to 4, he's right.
He says, you guys, that Fast and Furious Hall of Fame was the hardest thing I've ever had to vote for in my life, but I did it. And if you have not voted yet, cageclub.me/bracket. There's only a couple more weeks to vote. We're going to announce the winners on the first episode, Lap 7, Episode 1, The Fast and the Furious. So very soon.
Very soon.
The beginning of maybe the end of July. I don't remember. I could look at a calendar. I'm not going to.
Okay.
Actually, let's look at the calendar. We're going to reveal it on July 21st. So I think like mid-July. You have a couple more weeks, but not that much more time. Go vote. cageclub.me/bracket.
I wonder which ones hung him up, but it's all difficult choices, so.
Yeah, I think it's more like the cumulative, like, it all hangs each other up, right? Because it's like, I don't know what to not vote for.
I think so too.
It says, Joey, I'm with you. I also have a habit of looking in people's windows if we're walking around somewhere and their windows are open. I'm usually just trying to see if I can guess what they're watching, which is basically what I'm doing. Like, can I recognize it? Do I like it? Will I judge them?
On that sense, that I leave my blinds up a lot, and I always wonder if people are doing the same to me, because like I have a pretty big TV, and
like my TV, it's angled toward the window, kind of.
100%. That's what I was about to say. Yep.
He says, my proudest moment was walking downtown past a small block of condos, and I caught a glimpse of a TV on the third or fourth floor from across the street. I saw like half a second of a nondescript parking garage, but I just blurted out, they're watching Tokyo Drift.
Oh!
When Mrs. West and our friend looked up to it, it flashed a Han getting in the elevator, and they just kind of laughed. Our friend was like, you're a freak, dude, but what can I say? It's a gift.
I mean, it's so iconic. Good spot, that you saw it. That's cool.
Oh, here's more confirmation, more backup. Joey, Wendy's used to have a salad bar super bar in the 80s and 90s. It was a big selling point, and I remember it well. I just read that they discontinued it basically for being too popular. It was real cheap, and people were helping themselves to too much food, so the staff couldn't keep it stocked and keep up with the regular duties. I guess it was too much of a hassle to make the popularity worthwhile. Raise the price, man.
That's what I was just going to say. Yeah, like, how did they not raise the price? I guess, like, there's Americans would have still, like, taken advantage of them, I guess.
Yeah.
I remember, like, did you ever have, like, Haas's or Ponderosa, like, these, like, quote-unquote steakhouses that had the salad bar?
Nope.
there was like these cheap steakhouses that you would like go to, order your steak at the front as you walked in, like go to a table, and then they had like a huge salad bar. At least we had them in Pittsburgh. It's probably something along the lines of like Sizzler too. I think California has like Sizzler. You know, you pay for your steak, and then for like an extra $2, you add the salad bar, and the salad bar has like everything else, right?
So he says on the subject of edited movies and companies like Clean Flicks and Family Flicks, they don't really exist anymore. So sorry, Justin. I guess your son can't watch Blues Brothers unless you just slice and dice out stuff yourself.
Yeah, or
He
just
says
mute.
Mrs. West did a research paper about them in college as part of a project on censorship. We lived in the East Valley of the Phoenix metro area, which at the time I believe was the second largest Mormon settlement in the U.S.
That makes
So
sense.
these kind of companies were very popular. It says they lost all their court cases and were found to be in violation of copyright laws by altering and reselling films without the copyright holder's consent, which is basically what I said. Like, I don't know that they exist because they don't have the rights to distribute them.
I guess that the market's not big enough to let them like cater to it.
Like, you would need buy-in from the studios, and if the studios gave in, like, they would just do it themselves. If they wanted it out there, they would put out a clean version, I think, right?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. And the reason why they're not doing it or outsourcing it to some other company is because there must not be a huge market for it.
Right, because like if there was enough demand, or if
They would do it.
if they wanted like a clean version of Blues Brothers, they would put it out. They would just have somebody on staff who did that and like have an entire other revenue source. But I guess they don't care.
Yeah, do we even get like censored albums anymore? I feel like we don't.
I know Walmart used to sell them. Like Walmart exclusively sold censored albums, which was very frustrating. Not that I ever bought too many. I don't remember accidentally buying a censored album from there. I was like, God, like I only realized it after I opened. I was like, God damn it.
I think like Target might have did something like that once too. But yeah, that makes sense. Walmart, damn it.
Mostly it was skipping parts of the movie, but sometimes they took more liberties, like digitally putting clothes on Kate Winslet in Titanic, or changing the swords to lightsabers in The Princess Bride. The fuck? Get out of here. So I'm sure there were places where you could find these edited movies online, but maybe not legally.
Okay.
I think it'd be kind of like a fun, I mean, it'd be a pain in the ass, but like, it'd be a fun kind of video project if you like wanted to edit them yourself for your kid. Like if you knew Blues Brothers inside and out, and you're like, I don't want him to see this scene with Carrie Fisher. I know there's like cursing here. I know there's violence here, and you just go and like you get a video file and like you just bring in an iMovie or Windows Live Movie Maker or something, cut it out. Like I think I might not be right, but I think it's legal to do that if you're not distributing it. Like I think you can like once you own the video file, I think you can do with it whatever you want as long as you don't like share it or disseminate it.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think that like it's yours then. It's like art, right? Like if you bought like a painting and you just painted over it, it's yours. So
that'd be very funny if you're like, I'm gonna buy this painting, but I'm gonna fix it up. I don't like it enough. I'm gonna make it better.
I'm sure that there's people that do that.
I'm sure there are too. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Because I think I've written about this before, but Mrs. Wes's bio dad that she found last year was part of a Blues Brothers act. Oh yeah, he did that. I remember that.
That's right. I forgot that. Yes.
Basically, him and a friend started doing the act as a charity thing around Myrtle Beach. They became official and toured for a while as the Blues Brothers. He's getting older now, so he hasn't done it much the past few years, but he still has their tour bus and one of the cars from the movie. It's usually on loan to car shows or sitting at a theater in Myrtle Beach where he used to perform a lot. That's it for the catch up. Until next time, stay furious, Wes.
Thank you, Wes, for writing in. That was awesome. I totally forgot about Mrs. Wes's bio dad doing the Blues Brothers thing. I remember it once he said it, but like I forgot about it before that.
Didn't he? Wasn't he also like the Joker? Wasn't it like that crazy Joker?
Yes, he looked just like Jack
he had?
Nicholson, in the Joker costume. I do remember that one too. Yep.
And that's all the emails. If you want to email in, family@cageclub.me. I did not mention it earlier, but we have a Patreon page here in the show too. TooFast2Forever.com. Shout out to Cassie Wilson, Jake Freer, Ben Milliman, Nick Burris, Alex Ellenin, Justin Kleinman, Brian Rodriguez of High School Slumber Party, Haley Gerbies, Wes Hampton, Christian Larson, and Jerry Robinson.
Thank you,
at the
guys.
$5 level or above. Thank you all so very much.
Yes, thank you.
Like Alex wrote in before, if you want us to watch 236 episodes of Friends, $25 a month, plan an entire lap, the Friends lap. You know, who needs family when you got friends? I mean, I got the title for you right there, Alex. You know, just do it. Family@cageclub.me and TooFast2Forever.com. I will also say we have not gotten any new reviews on iTunes since we last checked on them. But if you would like to do us a nice thing, if you have not yet reviewed us on iTunes,
Please
or
do.
Apple Podcasts, or whatever you want to call it.
Spotify doesn't have a reviews, right? We talked about
Spotify
this.
doesn't even have subscriptions. It's just a very weird. It's a totally different way to do podcasts, but
It works. Yeah.
Apple Podcasts. If you want to give us 5 stars over there, even if you don't use Apple Podcasts, just go on there, give us 5 stars. Thank you so very, very much.
Thank you. Yes.
On the streets, Joe, I've got no news. Do you have any news about the Fast and the Furious movies?
I've thought about this. It's not really news, but it's kind of adjacent. They've been playing, I forget like what I was watching, like I guess it's USA or something. One of these has WWE on it. All of the WWE commercials have The Rock in them. And I'm like, bro, like he's not even like a wrestler anymore, but they're still like using The Rock in the in the tagline commercials for
How
WWE.
you sell a commercial. It's how you sell a product.
It's genius, but I was like, damn, dude, like, and he's like in a significant part of the commercial. Like he has like the talking part. It's like one of his like speeches in a wrestling thing, and they're like watch Raw this weekend, and you're like, okay. Like, but The Rock's not even on it, and like he was the main part of this commercial. That's not really news, but that's what I was thinking of.
Well, the only other thing we have to do this minute or this episode before we take a break and bring in Garrett is talk about the Fast and Furious minute 70. A minute I called, I don't know, there's a better title.
There's no better title.
Racehorse.
Well, what is this?
Read it.
What is this for?
It's directions. To Racehorse. We'll see how you do. Then we'll talk.
So at Neptune's Net, Dom slips Brian directions to Racehorse as Dom
We
eats a
think
shrimp.
we don't know what it actually is.
Well, Brian says, what is this? And Dom says, read. He says, what is this for? It's directions to Racehorse. We'll see how you do.
Oh, he does? He says directions?
He says, it's directions to Racehorse. We'll see how you do, then we'll talk.
Okay.
I mean, it might not be. I don't know why it wouldn't be, but Dom says it's directions. I think we can take him on his word.
I think we could take him on his word for it, too. I didn't remember he said it's like directions. I thought he said like it's about Race Wars, not like it's directions to Race Wars.
It's directions to Racehorse, yeah.
And also, like, why wouldn't they drive together? You know what I mean? Like, you don't think they would have caravanned?
Well, because it's not the same day.
Either way, like...
Well, they both need their cars there, ostensibly. If they were both going to race, you both need your cars there.
But I'm saying, you wouldn't caravan? Like, do you ever go to, like, a concert with your friends and we're like, okay, like, we're all gonna, like...
Oh.
You, like, meet up and, like, drive together?
I mean, maybe it's inconvenient, because we find out, we know where it took place at the San Bernardino International Airport. If it's out in the middle of the desert, if you don't live near each other, I mean, it might just be like, hey, just meet me there. We're going to be at the thing that looks like a hot air balloon. I'm going to be talking to a girl that's not Letty. Just catch me there.
Yeah, fair.
I also feel like, and maybe it's not, I know that, like, he invented it. I don't know how much actually hosting duty he is, but it feels like, or how much hosting duty he has, but it feels like Dom probably has more to do than Brian. So like,
and
Dom's
like get there
earlier.
You're right, and do setup. And you know what? That's 100% right, because in this minute we see Dom already there and Brian pull up to go in.
Yeah, at the very start of the next minute, he's going to get his pass to enter from the security guards. Yep. So we cut to Race Wars. There are groups of people admiring cars. Cars race against one another. A woman participates in a full-body wet t-shirt contest. Dom chats up a woman who isn't Letty. So, of course, the most important thing is that this is our first visit to Race Wars. And I looked back in our document, which is why we do this.
Yes.
It was first alluded to in minute 29, first mentioned by name in minute 40, mentioned again in minutes 49 and 53, but it's not until minute 70. So with barely over half an hour left in the movie, we finally get to Race Wars. So here's the thing that I want to say about the minute document is that I'm no longer going to write down clothing for extras, because I counted 120 extras in the scene. Ugh. No one needs to know what they're wearing.
That's fair.
Okay, it's either a woman with long hair, a black halter top, and like shorts, or it's a woman in a bikini.
90s fashion. That's what it is.
Or it's like a dude with short black hair, like whether it's a black guy, a white guy, a Latino guy, they all have short black hair. Like, it's across the board. They all dress the same. Maybe I'll consider doing things differently. Maybe if there's noteworthy things, like early, we were talking about, like, you found, like, the guy wearing a jersey in one of the first race or whatever. Like, noteworthy things, I'll either put a picture in or make a note of, but, like, no one needs to know what, like, 100. Guy number 8 in the circle watching or like guy number 22 in the circle watching the wet t-shirt contest girl, what he's wearing. Like, that, nobody needs, not even me, not even my OCD brain cares about that. So, like, this was what could have been a breaking point, but I was just like, nope, pivoting, fork diverges in the woods, and I'm going the path of least resistance.
In the same sense that, there's a million cars in Race Wars, so I got the ones I could distinctly make out that I knew exactly what they were, and the two, like, main focal ones that we pass with the camera, right? Like, those are like the things that I like really hone in on. So I got those guys there in the document, but I agree with you. Like, I'm going to try to get as many cars in the line as I can get in the next minute, but I'm not going to, like, die over it.
Because the important thing to keep in mind in that regard is that we looked up trivia in two different ways. I re-looked back at the IMDb trivia for this movie and searched for Race Wars. And we also found Craig Lieberman put out a Race Wars how it was filmed YouTube video.
Yes.
It's like 7 minutes long about some facts. We have some stuff
really
there.
Cool.
But
yes,
real life drivers brought their cars to participate here.
Yep.
There were over 1,500 cars at Racehorse, which seems like too many, but like if you look, there's just like a parking lot that's just like filled with tuners. Like I can imagine there's just like people from all over the place are like, we're making a car, they're making a movie about our culture. I want to be there.
Oh, yeah, and you know what? Like you were saying, and you have in the document, like 1,500 cars versus like 30 cars. I think that the distinction is Craig Lieberman found 30 guys who would race their cars all day.
That's what I figured out, yes. I would agree with that, yeah.
Versus, like, if you want to show up and park your car there, you can show up and park your car there and be an extra.
Yeah, because Craig Lieberman said there's over 1,000 or about 1,000 extras. They use 35 cars for filming, but, like, that's probably, yeah, you're right, like the ones actually racing or, like, the feature cars or whatever, right? But, like, there are so many cars there. There's so many extras. I also remembered on IMDb, I forgot this, but we knew that like Racer X and Redline were alternate titles or working titles in screenplays. I forgot that Race Wars was a name of the movie. And I'm going to say, I'm going on a limb here. If they called this movie Race Wars, there would never have been a second one.
Race Wars presents Hobbs and Shaw?
If literally everything else was 100% identical, the only difference is that it's called Race Wars, we have no second movie.
That's very true. It would have never been a franchise. Walmart $5 bin, one and done.
Immediately.
So
what did you notice from the Craig Lieberman video? What cars you see? What did you catch in this minute? Because it's a great minute. We're setting up Race Wars because this minute is basically split half in Neptune's Net in the transition, half at Race Wars. We don't get the day into night or the night into day transition, which I was kind of expecting now every time we have a transition. What did you see this minute, especially the back half? Or is there anything of note at all at Neptune's Net? Because I didn't see anything new there that we should have talked about.
I didn't see anything new at Neptune's Net, but I have a bunch of cool things that I found in this minute. So there's two cars that you pan past, right? There's the Honda Accord wagon that's like that burnt orange color. Like the first one they see kind of looks like Hector's.
And that's the one that says garage on the windshield?
Yes, garage graphic. And then the second one you see is like a white Mitsubishi Eclipse with like a red racing stripe down the side of it. I found the rims that he has. Did you see this in the document?
The Lenzo Concept 5 rims?
Yeah. It's the rims that he's using on the car. I was like, that's very cool. The other thing, a background fact, because we watched the Craig Lieberman video, they said they shot this at San Bernardino International Airport. San Bernardino International Airport was also used in The Aviator. That's really cool. I like The Aviator a lot. Do you like that movie?
I have not seen it yet. I know it's about Howard Hughes. I know that Kate Blanchett plays Katharine Hepburn.
Yeah.
I've not seen it. It's one of those ones where, again, like the movie we're talking about next episode, it's a 3-hour movie that just, like, it throws me off. Like, I know I'm going to like it, but I just haven't seen it.
It's a slow burn, but, like, Leonardo DiCaprio is great in it. He should have won an Oscar for that. It's an excellent movie. I remember I saw it in theaters, and it was long. I remember us being, like, it was very long, but then, like, I watched it again, and I was like, I really enjoyed this.
Well, actually, I will say really quickly is that past guest Michael DeManico, friend of the pod, he has his podcast Not Her Again, and season 3 they're covering Katharine Hepburn movies, and at the end of every movie discussion, it's usually he and Walter, past guest Walter Hickey, they talk about Katharine Hepburn's performance in the movie and whether she's good and what they like about the movie, like what we do here. But at the end, they talk about whether her performance was closer to Kate Blanchett, because Michael loves Kate Blanchett. His Twitter handle used to be Kate Blanchett. Whether she's Kate Blanchett in The Aviator or Kristen Wiig on SNL, like which Katharine Hepburn, is she more like serious, great movie, or kind of goofy, not great thing like on SNL? So
that's pretty funny.
Aviator, it's 1 degree away from Too Fast, Too Forever over on the Not Her Again podcast. So, yeah.
The coolest thing that I noticed this time, though,
which I did not notice, I think it's the top thing in the signs and notes.
Yes. The thing that I noticed this time that would like really, really was awesome to me during the wet t-shirt contest, right? Like that's the main focal point. So you're watching that happening. But if you pause in the background on top of a car, there's 4 medium-sized plush toys on top of one of the cars. And they're all Pokemon. and there's a Blastoise, there's a Meowth, there's a Pikachu, and a Gengar sitting on top of one of the cars, like right over her right shoulder.
Oh yeah, they're huge. Yeah, they're really big.
Yeah, they're like medium to large. They're not like, comically large carnival size, right?
No, but they're probably like 2.5 or 3 feet tall, I would guess, because it's not close. They're pretty big, I think.
I would consider those medium to large plush toys, right?
Because if you click on in the document in the I hyperlinked one woman in a thong getting hosed down in the full body wet t-shirt contest. If you click on that, you can see behind the dude with a camera. Like, there's a couple things going on in this scene. There's the guy with a camera who, I guess that's probably just his camera. He's taking pictures of this girl.
I couldn't figure out what cameras like these were. I wanted to get what cameras they are, but like there's no distinguishing factors on these. So.
And the other thing I want to point out about this is that there is a dude crouching like 3 feet away from her, just staring up, smiling at her, getting soaked. I was just like, that's so gross.
Yeah, but you heard which is really funny though, is that Craig Lieberman was saying that it was like 110 degrees in San Bernardino this weekend that they shot this. So she was probably like the only one there that was actually enjoying this, because it was probably so fucking hot that like getting hosed down, you'd be like, okay, yeah, I'll do it.
like there's objectification in these movies, and then there's like objectification in these movies, and this is probably the worst. Yeah, this is crazy.
This was the last of that, right? Like this isn't Giselle just like walking away or something.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't call it the last of this, but it's the most extreme. Like, there are still, like, in 6 and in 8, like, we still pan by asses that, like, the dress is, like, just below the curve of the butt cheek. It's like, oh, like, this is...
We never went to, like, Jello wrestling or something, right? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, they scaled it back. It's not, it's just, it's still there. It's not like it went away. It's just, like, I think they toned it down.
It's more like socially acceptable sexism as opposed to, like, overtly just, like, let's drench this girl. It's, oof, boy.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. But yeah, I did not see those plushes. I think that's a great find. Really good find.
You like that? Yeah, I like that too.
Anything else that you caught, or do we want to talk about some trivia that we learned from the Craig Lieberman video?
I think that was it. I have some other stuff in the document, but those were like the cool finds that I wanted to talk about.
So in the video, they talk about while Racehorse itself is a fictitious name, it was based on other tuner events that were popular at the time, like Hot Import Nights, and they had to use a fictional name. They used about 1,000 extras and 35 cars used for filming. So it's a big deal. That's a lot of moving parts.
It is. It's a ton of moving parts. And he was saying that, like, the director, Rob Cohen, just wanted them to keep racing anytime they were filming. So, like, you would have, like, the racing in the background. How daunting would that be? Because, like, if you're shooting a movie, it's not like they, like, line up all the scenes, like, immediately. Whenever they're running the cameras, they're just, like, constantly racing these cars for, like, 3 days straight.
Yeah, so it's 5 days of filming. They did 2 or 3 races per hour, even though they're mostly in the background. So it's not even like a focus. They're just like, hey, you're racing, but like you're only going to be like kind of in like a few frames of this. And participants were only paid $15 a day, which is still like, to be a part of this is a cool thing in retrospect. But like if you're there in 110 degrees and you're like having to race or just stand there and do whatever, like not a lot of money.
No.
$15 a day, not an hour, $15 a day. It's crazy.
Yeah, I wonder if they had to pay for their own gas and stuff too, right? So like then you're like, I'm losing money. Yeah, shrimp. Yeah, exactly.
There's also some stuff in the video about like the later minutes about like Jesse's Jetta and stuff like that. But is there anything else that we saw in this minute that Craig Lieberman pointed out that you wanted to bring to attention now?
No, I thought that I threw in all the things that thought applied to this minute as we were talking about it.
Do you have any theories on who that girl that Dom is talking to is? Because I don't. But he's talking to somebody who like is in a very, very short cutoff jean shorts and a big black bikini top. That's not Letty.
I think that the most like simple and probably the right answer is that Dom is just so famous at Racehorse. If he invented it, that it could be anyone, right? Like, it's just like any girl that walks by that's like, oh, I know this, like, he's the owner. Like, it's like if you went to a concert, you know, you saw, like, the head of the concert company or somebody from a different band there, right? Like, you'd be like, oh, like, it's this guy, look at he's famous.
It's either random groupie or like maybe she's like a fellow festival putter-oner, like she's there. Like I don't know what that actual like hub is because there's like security guards outside. Dom feels like a VIP member of this thing. I don't know if he actually has security there or not. Like it doesn't feel like there's like aggression here. I don't know if that's like a VIP area under what looks like a hot air balloon kind of.
It's like just a pop-up tent, right? It's just like a tent that you would have to like...
It just kind of, yeah, it's billowy sort of, I guess is why I was like... Because we had, I don't know if I ever said it on here, but like we had, like the town that I grew up in is well known for like its balloon festival.
Oh.
Balloons have played weirdly like a a big role in my childhood, and like we had one land in our backyard, and like I've seen like all over our town.
Wait, why did one land in your backyard? Like by accident or like?
No, because I mean, just like you need a place to land sometimes. And if you have a big grassy field, like they'll just land wherever.
Oh, really? Like, are you allowed to do that?
Who's gonna stop you?
I don't know. Like, what if it was like a don't balloon land on my property? I'm armed.
I mean, I guess. I mean, it is the country, sort of. I don't know. But yeah, I've never heard about a Antiba. Instead of Antifa, it's Antiba, anti-ballooners.
So some guy just like landed a hot air balloon on your thing. Like, did you guys go outside? Like, hey, are you okay? Or like, what?
Well, you like go out there and you like help fold the balloon. You actually get
You
the
help
balloon,
him too?
You fold it into the actual basket. I mean, it's a cool thing. It's not work or whatever.
It is work. I'm gonna start getting hot air balloon shits. If you can make the homeowners come help you and land in their yard, this sounds fucking awesome. Like if a skydiver landed in your backyard, would you help him fold his fucking skydiving parachute?
Yeah, I probably would, because that's very cool.
Oh God, weird, man. Like non-city people, I don't get it. If somebody like landed in my yard in the city, we'd be like, "What the fuck are you doing here?" Like they would just be like, "Get out."
Different life, man. Country
It
mouse,
is.
city mouse.
Also, yeah, you're not gonna land a hot air balloon in the middle of a city either. So
You're also probably not gonna take off a hot air balloon from the city unless it's like a pier in New York City or something like that. But even then, you probably it's restricted airspace, right? So
yeah, exactly.
Any other notes? Any other thoughts about this Fast and Furious minute? Or should we get to the trivia?
I'm going to get to the trivia, and I'm excited to get to Race Wars, like more Race Wars. So
Proper, yeah. I do want to say that the song "Race Wars" by BT begins. So this is from the score. I found a different video. That guy's YouTube video has not been. YouTube channel has not been restored. But the song "Race Wars" by BT begins. So I have three different questions here. I don't know if you like any of these. For everything that happens, I feel like the question almost has to be about like Race Wars in general. The plot of Race Wars in the movie has not happened in this minute yet, right? Like we're just there. We're just setting the scene.
That's fair. I get that, yeah.
So I have three different questions. If you like one or more of these, I am not emotionally connected to any of these. We can get rid of one, two, or all three of them.
Okay.
What is the name of the song from the score that plays when we arrive at Race Wars? Which is kind of like a trick question. It's like, it can't just be called Race Wars, right? But it is.
Yeah, it could be, yeah. I like that one only because it's funny, but like I don't know if it should last or not. Because you could have like Dancing Nights or like Hit the Nos or whatever, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Question number 2, roughly how many cars were used in the filming of Race Horse? I think we need to name that, or we need to word that more carefully, but like how many cars showed up to film those scenes? The answer, according to IMDb, is 1,500.
I don't know if I trust IMDb. It would have to be a reference to the Craig Lieberman one saying that 30 cars were used like during Race Wars. Because he knows, you know
But
what I mean?
there's still so many more, right? Like there's so many more cars there. Like you can see like entire parking lots full of people. Like you can look, if you look at like one of the things.
Yeah.
I don't think I put it up there, but there's like if you look in the minute, there's like hundreds of cars in like a lot. Like it's like a music festival parking.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Here I am. Like when you first get to the hangar, but it looks like it could be like a lot of tents.
But there's definitely way more than 30 cars.
Okay, fair. Yeah.
I don't know. Again, I don't know if I want to say that because like 1,500 or whatever. We could also say like per IMDb, but whatever. Or the third one, which I forgot about this fact. Which of these was not a working title for the Fast and Furious? So we knew Racer X and Redline, but the movie Race Wars, like we talked about before, that's a wrong answer. So like
that's a good one. I like that. The only other thing that I would have come up with is like what notable cartoon plush toys are seen during Race Wars, and it would be like Pokemon, Betty Boop, you know what I mean? Like that was the only thing I could come up with when I was watching
like I like that, but I think that like even when I was watching it carefully, I didn't even see those.
Oh yeah,
you're so
I'm sure
blindsided. Like it's almost like, what color thong is the woman who's being objectified wearing? It's like probably red, but I don't know.
I get it. Yeah, that's what I was saying, but that's like the only one I could come up with. Like,
so
I'm
maybe
not
we do the
that
working title,
either.
the script. So Race Wars, Racer X, Redline, but we need one more. What's another R movie title? Because they're all R's.
Racer? No, Racer X we have
Race Wars, Racer X, Redline.
Revved Up.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, I think, does that work? Is that good?
Yeah,
you like that?
For sure.
Okay.
Yep. Because like Race Wars does not sound like it should be the name.
Yeah, a couple of those you're like, that would be a really stupid name for a movie.
So the question, which of these was not a working title for the Fast and the Furious? Race Wars, Racer X, Redline, or Revved Up? And the answer, of course, is Revved Up.
Yeah, that's okay, cool. I like that, and they all kind of fit too.
70 minutes, 78 questions. If you're a patron, you go to toofast2forever.com. You can click on the pinned post to get access to both the Fast and Furious minute document and also the quiz. So go do that thing. Again, vote in the Hall of Fame, but also take the quiz if you haven't taken it. If you haven't taken it in a while, take it again.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Joe, let's take a break. Let's bring in Garrett Smith, and let's talk about Hobbs and or Shaw.
is episode number 104, Hobbs and Shaw. This episode is brought to you by McLaren. With innovation at the core of all that they do, every challenge starts with the same question: how can they do it better? This restless spirit runs right through McLaren, and the search for perfection is evident in everything they design. Shout out, McLaren.
Shout out indeed, McLaren. Well, we are here. This is the final Fast and Furious movie in Lap 6, Joe. We have finished...
That's true.
Not finished in their lap. We still got a bunch more episodes. Not a bunch more episodes. We got a handful more episodes this lap. But to talk about Hobbs and Shaw, the most recent installment in the Fastiverse, we have the host of the I Like to Movie podcast, Garrett Smith. Hello, Garrett.
Hello, Joe and Joey. I'll figure out which one is which as we go along.
That works, buddy.
So thank you so much for joining us. You were on our radar, and I don't remember why. You have a great Twitter handle. It's Philadelphia, which I love.
Me. Thank you.
And I don't remember if you tweeted at us or you were just tweeting about the Fast and Furious, but we started following you, and it was like cool. And then you messaged us recently. We're going to get to this later, but you said, I've got this great theory for Fast 10. And we're like, cool. Sorry that we can't book you for like 2.5 laps because we have the next 2.5 laps booked, but like, we can't wait to hear it. Yeah. And you're like, no problem. That's totally fine. And then our guest for tonight couldn't make it, and we're like, hey, come on in. And so here you are. So we basically sped up this timeline a whole bunch. So I cannot wait to hear all about whatever this crazy theory is.
I appreciate it. Thank you, boys. I have just a pitch for what I think would make, the ultimate Fast 10.
I love it.
We'll say that.
I love it.
By the way, it's not called Fasten Your Seatbelts, but it probably is going to be, actually.
I hope so much. I'd kind of like just like embracing the tacky of it.
Oh,
just fucking do it.
It's the most insanely named movie series in the history of the medium.
Oh yeah.
We talked about it because we had this like one of our friends and fans gave us this like Fast and Furious book, and like apparently in England they're just titled like Fast and Furious 1 through not 8. Right?
Yep.
Wait, for real? Like, even the second one doesn't have the crazy Too Fast, Too Furious? Wow, wild. It's just Fast and Furious 2.
I think so. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
That is wild.
It's so much easier. I mean, I like the weirdness of it.
I love the weirdness. It's better this way. I mean, I don't know if you want to get into this right away, but my whole pitch about Fast and Furious and why it's great is it is a soap opera made for, whatever, $500 million every time.
Yeah.
Yep, it's 100%.
One of the biggest budget soap operas ever, and to me, the fucking ridiculous naming scheme of it all plays right into just that level of cheese that they're always playing at, you know?
Right before we started this, I messaged Joey. I'm a huge fan of Lifetime movies, right?
Yes,
and like the new Lifetime movie coming out is called, what was it called? It's like Mile High Murderer.
No, Deadly Mile High Club.
Deadly Mile High Club. That's amazing.
See? And I really enjoy that like Lifetime embraces this dumb movie titling too.
Oh yeah. My partner and I just watched a movie, I don't know if you guys have seen this or are familiar with this, called The Stepfather, starring Terry O'Quinn.
Oh yeah, of course.
No.
It's kind of an old horror movie. I think it's from the 80s. Terry O'Quinn stars as the stepfather, who is just a murdering psychopath. It's a great movie. It's really, really fun slasher. But it is straight up a Lifetime movie. Like
That's awesome.
It's basically an R-rated Lifetime movie. It's made in the exact tone of Lifetime movies. It just is a wild slasher, and it's like one of my favorite things ever.
That's awesome. I'm gonna have to check this one out.
Joe, I don't know if you looked into Deadly Mile High Club, but the director Doug Campbell is the director of the Stalked series, Stalked by My Doctor, Stalked by My Neighbor, Stalked by My Doctor, The Return, Stalked by My Doctor, Patient's Revenge, Stalked at 17,
This
Stalker
is exactly
Club.
what we're talking about. These are how these Fast and Furious movies are named.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the first thing that went to in my brain. So yep, I'm with it.
Wonderful. Well, let's get back slightly on topic, because I mean we'll get there eventually again. But Garrett, now I believe, if I am right, you have seen all 9 movies. Is that correct?
Oh yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Well, I guess what's your history with the franchise? What was the first one you saw? How did you grow to watch all these? And what was the first time you saw this one in particular?
So I had an interesting experience with the series that one of your recent guests actually had a similar experience to me, and I was surprised to hear it because I couldn't imagine too many people did this. But so I had no interest in these movies.
Okay.
I grew up like a science fiction nerd. I liked Star Wars. When these, what do you call them, like masculine car movies started coming out, I was like, yep, no interest. I don't care. Not my thing. So I ignored these movies for like a long time. I didn't see any of these movies in the theater until Furious 7.
Whew.
Okay.
So, but here's how I saw it. My podcasting partner, Dan Scully, the guy I do I Like to Movie with, he's a huge fan of this franchise, going all the way back. He's liked these movies since they started. So when 7 was coming out, he was like, dude, I know you think you don't like these movies, but you will love these movies. You have to come. And the way he convinced me was he was like, I think what we should do is we'll do an episode of the podcast on 7, but the concept will be you've never seen any of them, so you're going to watch the first one and then immediately go to the theater to see the 7th one without seeing anything in between.
Did you try to fill in the blanks too? Like, how did they get here? Because that sounds amazing.
My friend, I made a list of 10 things that I predicted would happen in Furious 7 based on only the movie The Fast and the Furious.
How did that go? How many did you get right? Like 0?
Absolutely 0. I think my first one was someone will challenge someone else to a race and produce exactly $2,000 in a wad of cash from their pocket, because that happens at least 4 times in the first movie and then never again in the series.
Yeah, little did you know how much the series would shift over the years.
Yeah, so no, I had no way of predicting that, but what I also had no way of predicting was the first movie was fine. I like it now, like much more than I did then. When I saw it the first time, I was like, "Yep, this is what I expected. It's a fucking dumb car movie." And then the 7th one made me cry.
Yeah.
I went to the theaters and I cried my goddamn eyes out about characters and an actor that I didn't give a shit when I sat down in that theater.
Yeah.
It's an
That's what
effective,
happens,
it's tearjerker. Again, Lifetime movie-esque.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I was so impressed by how... that's the thing that is so weird to talk about with this series, because mostly the reason I love it is how fucking stupid it is, and I love everything about it. But it does actually make me actually emotional in, like, very real ways.
Well, I've said on here before that, like, four or 5 of the 9 movies have made me cry.
Yeah.
Which, like, and that's not, like, they're not supposed to make, like, Fast 5 is not supposed to make you cry, but Fast 5 makes me cry.
Yeah, well, what part of Fast 5 makes you cry?
When they open the safe, I'm like, oh, God, our guys did it. Our team did it.
It's part of the emotional roller coaster of doing this project specifically, too. Like, we're watching them again and again and again. So, like, you get to a point where, like, you know 7's coming.
Yeah.
And, like, we've just seen them, and you're like, oh, God, Brian saved the day. You know, and you start to get a little teary.
Anytime that song from the finale plays in, like, a grocery store, I straight up choke up, just, like, in the aisle at the grocery store.
Man.
You can't play that song in the wild. Like, it's not fair to play that song, like, unsuspecting. Like, it's not like these are cult or niche movies.
No.
Like, lots of people have an emotional... Even if you don't, like, love the movies, just like you saw it, you didn't love the first one, you saw the 7th one and it made you cry. People probably have only seen the 7th one, cried at the end, hear that song. Even with never having seen another Fast and Furious movie, it makes you cry. Like, you can't just have a tearjerker song. You don't have, like, We Are the World playing at the supermarket.
Frankly, I'm surprised we haven't seen anybody already rip it off. Like, I'm surprised it hasn't been in, like, 3 other movie trailers that are trying to recall those emotions. You know what I mean?
Can't. It's like too on the nose or something, right? Like, everybody would be like, oh, man, like, you're really going to fucking use the Paul Walker song about this? Like,
Right, yeah. But yeah, so, I mean, I loved that 7th movie so much. And it wasn't just that it made me emotional. You know, the moment that The Rock flexes out of a cast, I was like... oh, that's what these movies... Like, this is what these are.
Yeah.
It's this. And I just fell in love with it. And so then I just, like... I think I literally, like, that week, the, like, no, it couldn't have been that week. So whenever that movie finally came out on Blu-ray, that one, there was, like, a 7-box set for, like, $30 on Amazon. And I was, like, buying them, watching them all, catching up the whole way through. And now I've seen the whole series, I think at least 2 or 3 times each.
Perfect.
I love it. And in fact, I don't know if this is when we initially connected, but I wrote an article a while back about Furious 6 being the Fast and Furious movie and the highway sequence being, to me, emblematic of what this series is about and the heights that it can reach as both a ridiculous fucking soap opera and an actual, like, emotional story about family.
Well, I think that's a nice transition into the rankings. I know it's a very difficult task, but if that's the ultimate, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but could you please rank these movies either top down or bottom up, from your favorite to least favorite or least favorite to favorite, however you want to do it?
I absolutely can, if you will allow me just a moment to find my Letterboxd list, which is just for this purpose.
Cool.
Perfect.
Cool.
Oh, here we go.
Joey's a big Letterboxd fan, too.
Yeah.
Oh, guys, yeah, I'm all over Letterboxd. So, all right, you want them top down? What do you
Whatever
want?
you want. If you want to
like
build
bottom
suspense,
up, if I can pick.
Bottom up. Okay, all right. So I'm curious. What do you think my bottom Fast and just based on the little bit I told you? What do you guys think my bottom is?
I think your bottom one is going to be 2.
2 is my number 8. Okay, so you're not far off, but I need you to know that I actually really like 2. That's how much I'm on board with this series. It's
That's what we
almost the
say.
bottom, and I kind of really like it.
Yeah.
That's what we say. We always say that a bad Fast and the Furious movie is still better than a lot of other movies,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yep.
like, it's not like this is, like, a bad movie. It's just that in the rankings compared to the other ones, you don't
Yep.
like it as much. I
Yep,
get it.
yep. I love the anime driving sequences. They look like anime, and it's one of my favorite things about that movie. Okay, 4 is my bottom.
Okay.
I think 4 is legitimately maybe the only bad movie in this franchise.
Okay.
And it's
How
not
many times have you seen it? Have you seen them, like, have you seen 4 a lot? Because it's really grown on me. I was with you when I started my rankings, and like, the more I watch it, the more I realize it, like, from the perspective of it being, like, the cornerstone
Yes.
and, like, the pivot point.
Yes.
It, like, makes it a lot more enjoyable for me.
I agree with that. So I've seen it probably 3 times now, and I do like it more than I did when I initially saw it. But I think that even watching it in that context, the thing that honestly takes away from a lot of it is that finale is the worst car sequence in any Fast and Furious movie, I think.
Okay.
It's
Oh,
one
the
of
driving through the tunnels?
Yeah, it's one of the only ones where it is such pure CGI with not even a hint of like anybody actually drove any of these cars that I just think that is an unconvincing, unexciting. Like, this series is at its best when Justin Lin is directing, and he did direct that one, but it's because what he's good at is convincing me these people are actually driving these cars and doing these stunts.
Okay.
And I think that
That's a very fair
finale
point.
fails that, like, completely. And so then the rest of the movie kind of falls apart around that for me. I like the building the team aspect of it and the way it does sort of take these 3 disparate movies that came before it and find a way to unite them in these thematics of family. You know, it is the movie that kind of, it doesn't establish those things, but it sort of sets the blueprint for, like, that is what all of these are actually about. That's the connecting through line of all of these movies. And I love that that's what that movie does, but I think that the stunt work and that kind of stuff just isn't there in this movie, and
Okay.
that kind of hurts it.
That's all fair, all valid points. So just to be safe, Hobbs and Shaw is included in your rankings, or is it separate? Because some people include it, some people don't.
It's included.
Okay.
It's included. And I could see an argument for not. I get it, but it's included. I think they're all in the family, baby, you know?
Exactly.
Perfect. So we got,
That's my number 7, actually. Obviously we're going to talk about it. I'm not as crazy about this movie as some of the others, but in watching it a couple times now, it's growing on me.
Okay.
I'm getting in there.
It's fun. It just gets more and more fun every time I watch it. Like, I was, like, cracking up this time. Like, I know the jokes now. We're, like 3 or 4 deep on it, Joey. 4. The comedic relief in this one is, like, direct, but I like how it cuts up the movie for me.
Yeah, this is the 5th time that I've seen it, but I watched it one extra time because
Okay.
you and I, we saw it in theaters, we did our spoiler free, then we saw it again, and we did our full spoiler episode, and then I saw it when we had Mike on, and then we did another lap afterwards with Kara, and then now this. So yeah,
Okay.
4 or 5. Yeah, so it's ranking up there.
Yeah, I think this was only my second experience with this one. So I may find the same with you guys, that as I watch them, I definitely liked it more this time than I did the first time. So I think I'm already, kind of on board with what you guys are saying.
Well, I've said this before, and I really hope. I mean, I hope and I don't hope this is possible, but like, if F9 is VOD in April, we're going to do that 6 episodes in a row, because it's just like we need to break
Yeah.
this down as much as we possibly can. Like,
Yeah.
I kind of hope that the world is in a better place by then, that we can go to
course.
the movie theater and enjoy it on the big screen. But if it's not the worst thing in the world for this podcast, because we can watch it a whole hell of a lot of times.
Oh, yeah. If ever a movie was going to be worth, because they keep saying if they're going to do something like this, it'll be that thing where it's like, it'll be a $45.
Right.
If
Fine.
ever there was a movie that I would pay that much money to watch at home, it is Fast 9.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I would have done it. We were bitching about it in April when they pushed it back. We were like, just fucking send it to VOD. Like, you tell me when quarantine broke and there's a new Fast and Furious, but it's $50 and everybody's at home, like, everybody wouldn't have watched it. You'd have made all your money right there.
Oh,
It'd have
absolutely.
been fine.
It'll be interesting to see how studios start responding to this, because I don't know, frankly, I think it's insane that they still think they're going to put Tenet out. I still feel like there's an announcement coming that it's not coming out,
Well, the news today, and this is now almost a week ago, because this is going to come out on Tuesday, so this is probably has happened, but Disney is, quote, strongly considering delaying Milan again. It's like, yeah, of course, because nobody's going to see it. Like, it comes out in a month. Nobody's going to go to the theater in a month. Like, things are getting worse. They're not getting better.
I know to some extent dummies are who are going to go do this stuff anyway, right? And that's really probably what they're relying on, is that, like, dummies don't care and will go see movies, right? But I am the person most likely to go see a movie during a pandemic. I fucking love movies. It's the thing I most like to spend money on. I am not going to a fucking movie theater until at least 2022. You know what I mean? Like, I'm
Yeah.
not doing it. They should not be releasing, like, I think they stand to lose money by trying to release movies right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's gonna be rough.
No, I did not want to turn this podcast into that. Sorry.
Oh no, it's
No,
fine.
you're fine, man.
It already
We've
kind
been
of is
talking
all the
about
time because it's just, I'm right there with you. Okay, number 6. You have Hobbs and Shaw at 7. Number 6.
Number 6, The Fast and the Furious.
Okay, the
that's,
original
That's where I
six.
got
First
the
one.
OG. First one. Yeah, this one, again, I didn't like it that much when I first saw it, but it's really grown on me a lot in rewatching these movies, especially because suddenly, you go back to it after getting through the whole series and realizing, oh, this is all about family, it's all about these specific characters, and it's crazy how much of that is actually established in the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of feel like when you get through the series that, like, yeah, they kind of got to that stuff like halfway through the series. Like 5 is where they figured out what it was all about, and that's what this all. But then you go back and you watch it, and you're like, no, they were drinking Coronas and having barbecues in 1, man. Like,
Talking family.
yeah, all this stuff was established in the first movie. It has grown on me a lot, actually. I quite like that movie, especially as just at the time when they didn't know there was going to be a franchise, just kind of a cheesy B movie that they were trying to make some money off of. I think it's a good one.
We always say that the nostalgia factor plays a huge role in that one. So, like, if you saw it when it came out before all the other ones came out, you usually have it ranked a lot higher. But
Yeah.
like you said, and everybody that's watched it and then watches through the series, when you revisit it later, it's like, oh, this has like a lot of gravity to it that we didn't really get the first time because it was just a B movie that was fun. And then you're like, yeah, they were talking family and drinking Coronas, like it was all there.
And forgive my terrible Vin Diesel impression here. He pretty much sounds like Stallone when I do him. But like even the stuff where he's like, oh, the Buster, he's like
Yeah.
calling him the Buster. And it's like, you're like, that is so stupid when you first see the movie, and then you get through the whole series and you're like, oh god, he just nicknamed him the Buster right away. He loves his Buster.
Yep.
By the way, guys, you're just gonna have to deal with this. This podcast is gonna be 4 hours long because I do this all the time. 100 tangents about everything.
I was looking at your. I was
Same
like,
thing, bro.
I was trying to gauge. I have not listened to I Like to Movie. I'm so sorry. I apologize.
okay.
But
No,
I was
that's
looking
all right.
at the lengths of episodes, and I was like, oh, this is going to be a long episode. Like, because it seems like for the most part, your average episodes lately, at least, have been 2 hours. And I was like, oh boy, because we tend to go long, and if you tend to go long, we might go really long. So just buckle up.
Strap in, folks. Yeah, buckle up. That's a better one for a Fast and Furious podcast. So, Fate of the Furious is my number 5.
Okay.
That's pretty high.
I know that people don't like this movie, and so I loved it when I saw it in theaters. This is one of the only ones that has dipped for me a little bit in rewatching. I loved it when I saw it in theaters because this was my first real Fast and Furious experience in theaters, right? 7 was my first, but 7 was where I discovered it and was like, oh, this is what it is.
You had no context, right?
8 was the first time I got to go in and be like, I'm ready, baby. Give me the family. Let's see what they're up to. And it
Opening
was
night, you're there,
yep.
you're amped, you had your
Yep.
tickets already, like, yep, I feel you.
Such a joy. Every time somebody said family, every time somebody cracked a Corona, like, I was just, like, over the moon. I thought it was wonderful. And it's dipped a little bit for me in rewatch. I get why people don't like this one as much as some of the others. I do think as far as the back half of the series, it's one of the weaker entries. But I think it feels especially weak on the heels of 5, 6, and 7 being this like really great kind of trilogy within the larger context of the series, you know?
sure.
But I think as its own Fast and Furious movie, it's not as bad as people tend to say.
It's a fun action movie. It's good.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved it more than I ever have last time. So I don't know. Everything's all tossed up. And I don't know I don't know what to think of anything anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I feel that I do think these movies have a little bit of that in them too, where I think different ones can speak to you at different times, which is such a fucking highfalutin way to talk about a Fast and Furious movie. But I think that's true. Like, I think different ones of these will speak to you in different ways at different times. Because frankly, it's like even some things like your own life experience, I think could, this sounds stupid to say about a Fast and Furious movie, but having a child, I imagine, will change my perspective on some of these characters and how they treat each other,
For sure.
Very true.
Yeah, okay, and so my top 4, here's where I'm really solid.
Oh, so it's easy for you, the top 4.
Top 4 is easy.
Okay.
I'm solid on these. I think these ones feel unchanging to me. They're unshakable.
I think, Joe, that's what's most interesting to me about the rankings is like people seem to have something comfortably locked in on everybody's rankings, but like
top
what,
3 or bottom 3.
It's like bottom 3 or like the middle. They're like, I know that these are the worst. I'm not sure the order. I know that these are the best. I'm not sure the order. But like these 3 in the middle, I know like they're all good. They're fine, whatever. But like it varies where people are comfortable. So I think it's kind of rare, maybe not, that the top is locked in. I don't know, but let's hit us with it. Number 4.
4 is Tokyo Drift for me.
Okay.
I love Tokyo Drift. Frankly, it might actually be the best standalone movie in the series.
Fair.
If you rip it out of the context of the series, I think it might just be the best movie in it. I really, really love Justin Lin's direction in this movie. I really like his use of music in this movie, even though it's like butt rock and like really like kind of like bad hip hop. It is so well used within the context of the movie itself that like even when Kid Rock needle drops at one point, it works. It like really fucking works in the context of that scene. I just think that movie is like kind of firing on all cylinders. Yeah, I like it a lot. I love the it's called Tokyo Drift, but I love the drifting sequences. This where they're good, and not even the big ones are when the two cars are basically having sex as they rotate around each other. You know what I mean? I love the hill sequence, the side of the hill at night while they're going. I think that's beautiful. I think that's like one of the most actually like beautiful cinematic moments in the series. I love that stuff.
Now here's a question for you. If you were showing someone these movies for the first time, would you show 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or would you show 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 3?
I would go in the order they were released.
Okay.
I don't think I would go for the chronological storytelling thing, only because, for one, as we talked about before, that's part of the hilarious fun of the series, is that the timeline is such a fucking mess and insane. And two, I don't understand why people even have arguments over which order to watch the Star Wars movies in. The prequels are clearly designed to be movies that you see once you've seen 4 or 5, the original trilogy. They are designed with you knowing information about those other movies. That if you watched those movies without the context of 4, 5, and 6, half of it wouldn't make sense. There are like reveals in those movies that are based on your knowledge of the other ones, and I think the same is true of this series. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It would almost make less sense to find out that that's how and when Han dies, watching it in order. Because like suddenly people have like old cell phones, and you're like, when is this happening?
We've done it both ways. Next time you watch through the series, watch in chronological order if you haven't, because it's like it's a different experience in 2 different ways. One, it's fun to have like the Han reveal later. Yes. It is, and it plays way differently.
Sure.
And 2, it's really nice to break up between 6 and 7 with a really light, quick, fun movie.
Oh yeah, that makes sense to me actually. Yeah.
It's the length of it really that we're like, oh yeah, because they get, as you know, when you hit 5, they're all 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Oh yeah.
And to cut in the shorter one, it's like, oh yes, nice, a little breather. I like it.
Yeah.
And then you get back to the gravity of 7, right? Yep. So then 7 hits you harder because you were like having so much fun, and then it's like, this is the Paul Walker one.
Yep. I wonder if we're ever going to go back. I don't know that we are, but I think for the foreseeable future, at least the next 2 laps, as we show, hopefully, fingers crossed, they follow our directions and don't cheat like Kara did, either accidentally or on purpose. We're going to do Tokyo Drift after 6, but we'll find out. Okay.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Top 3. You got 5, 6, and 7. Your little trilogy, your self-proclaimed trilogy here. Your top 3. What's the order? What's number 3?
3 is 5. Fast 5.
Okay.
I know that this is most people's favorite Fast and Furious movie, and I feel like had I watched them as they were coming out, I would probably have strong feelings about that too, because this really does feel like the movie where they figure out this is the ultimate blueprint of a Fast and Furious movie, probably, right? I mean, it's like, this is where they really figure out what these movies are and how fun they can really be if they just kind of like, it's weird. It's like they step back from the real drama of it and lean harder into the melodrama of it in that movie, and I think that's where it really starts to click because of that.
It becomes more soap opera-y, even more.
Yeah. I just think that the emotional heights that 6 and 7 ultimately get to weigh a little harder for me in my rankings than this movie. This one is maybe the most fun, but I like the emotional resonance that 6 and 7 have. I think they speak to what I like about the series a little more.
So, number 2.
Number 2 is 7, and number 1 is 6.
Okay.
6 is my number 1. I think I know that it probably doesn't belong there in some way, right?
No, people agree with you, man. 5 and 6 are like 1 and 2.
The only one you're really not in line with most people on is the first one. The people like the first one more than you do. I get that you didn't have the nostalgia.
Right, I don't have that
one.
nostalgia for it. Yeah.
Everything else, like it all tracks. Like you're right. I mean, again, that's not a good thing or a bad thing. It's just like you're not wrong for loving 6 because everybody loves 6.
Yeah, because we keep track of everybody's rankings. So Joey has like the averages of like what it is. So you're falling pretty much in line.
That's good to know because I love 6. I think that 6 has like the highway sequence to me is like that's where everything coalesces, right? The family stuff, the melodrama, the action, the set pieces, the stunts, all of the stuff you love about these movies happens in those 10 minutes all at once. You know what I mean? In doing so, gives you actually probably the most iconic image of the series, which somehow is a Tyrese image. Him sort of flying in front of the tank over top of the car, right?
Yeah.
That might be the most iconic image from the whole series.
It's up there.
But the moment that Dom launches himself across a chasm between two highways to catch Letty, and then fall onto a car and stand up and go, "Oh, some things you gotta take on faith," is like that is the series. That's the whole fucking series in a nutshell. You know what I mean?
Vin Diesel sounds like if Stallone and Kermit had a baby. Like that's where it's falling.
I like that. That's
almost Stallone, but it's not quite Stallone. It's a little bit of Frank Oz. It's a little bit of Kermit. It's like right in that wheelhouse.
If you will, I am playing to the potentially Muppety nature of one Vin Diesel.
Sure, of course.
No, I just am doing a terrible impression. That's what it is.
It's all good, man.
If you've listened, I know you've listened to podcasts before. I know you talked about past guests. So now we've got the either-or questions, the hard-hitting,
Lightning round.
insightful, very difficult either-or lightning round questions. Are you ready for these?
I'm ready. I'll keep it as lightning as I can.
Okay.
No, you're fine.
You can explain. You can explain your answers if you want. You don't have to. If you want to let the mystery be, like the leftovers taught us, you can. But you don't have to.
All right.
Are you more of a Brian or a Dom?
Ooh, am I more of a Brian or a Dom?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, these are about you. How do you see yourself? Because we're gonna do a character quiz later. We're gonna find out which family member you are. But
all right.
Of these two, are you more Brian or are you more Dom?
Here's the thing. I actually think in reality I'm probably more of a Dom than a Brian, but I feel weird saying that because I feel like when you say you're more of a Dom, you're trying to speak to the masculinity of that character, and that's definitely not what I mean.
No. There's a lot of family in that character, too.
Yeah. I think it's more the patriarchal kind of nature of that character.
Okay.
Not patriarchal, because that feels like a hot term right now that I don't intend to, but like patriarch.
Yes.
A family.
Yes. I get it.
So now we added this question, and then immediately we are not allowed to talk about police anymore because ACAB and all that sort of stuff. But is Brian a good cop or a bad cop, or said more in a way that you don't have to say necessarily he's a good cop? Is he good at his job?
Okay, so separating this from the reality we're all living through, where ACAB for sure, ACAB all day, separated from that reality, but also kind of implied by it, I think that Brian might be a good cop in the sense that Brian stops being a fucking cop when he realizes it's not, he
Love that.
realizes
Answer.
justice is not being done through his policing and leaves.
Interesting.
And
It's
does
a
justice
one-man-
by wantonly murdering innocent people in the streets with his family.
It's a one-man abolish the police effort. He's like,
right.
I'm doing my part. I'm abolishing 100% of my involvement.
That's right.
in the
That's
police.
right. Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Okay.
good cop.
I love
good
it.
cop.
That's a great answer. Wow. We haven't had that yet.
No,
We-
that's great.
That's
Okay,
a really
now I feel
good
better
one.
about asking that question now. Okay, are you more of a Mia or a Letty?
I am more of a Mia, I would say.
Okay.
Letty is probably who I wish I could be.
Sure.
Letty is like, she gets shit done, and boy, do I wish I could get some shit done. Not that Mia doesn't, but I think maybe unfortunately more just in the way these movies are written and made. She doesn't have a lot to do usually in this series, and that feels a little more like my place in my life,
Are you more of a Tej or a Roman?
Oh man, am I more of a Tej or a Roman? Probably. As much as I hate to admit it, I'm more of a Roman. I definitely think that I am a fun, funny person. That probably people are mostly like, you fucking nerd.
Now, this is one you said before that you're not a Letty because you wish you were a Letty. This is one that people have this kind of answer, this kind of reaction to this question. Are you more appropriate for this one? You more of a Hobbs or a Shaw?
This is the one that I thought a lot about when I was listening to your show last week, and have completely
It's
forgot
difficult.
what I thought about
it's
it.
very, very difficult.
Am I more of a Hobbs or a Shaw? I think I'm more of a Hobbs.
Wow, okay.
I think so. I think going along with being more of a Dom than a Brian, I think I'm more of a Hobbs than Shaw. Actually, I mean, this is something we should talk about. Hobbs is actually one of the strangest characters in the franchise. His evolution is almost random. It's very strange the way that character grows. The Hobbs that we meet in Hobbs and Shaw feels more like what I think of where he's a little bit you get the impression he's the lazier of the two, and that's where I fall in. That's what I'm saying.
Interesting. By the book, he seems so productive to me. Where do you get the laziness from?
Yeah, maybe lazy was the wrong word for that. But by the time we get to Hobbs and Shaw, he's no longer putting even the appropriate clothes on to do the job that he's doing, right? He's
Fair.
just wearing fucking tank tops and cargo shorts everywhere he goes, even though he's like, I don't know, works for like some specialized government agency or whatever the fuck he's still doing in that movie. Even though you're saying he's a play by the book guy, I actually think he's like a play by his own rules guy. It's just that his rules sometimes align with the book.
Fair. That's that's fair.
Do you prefer American Muscle or imports?
Oh, American Muscle, baby. Come on.
Okay.
What are we talking about? I'll tell you a thing that I discovered through these movies is I actually have a love of cars, and specifically car movies.
There you go.
I did not know that about myself. I never considered myself a car person.
Wow.
These movies got me into I was like, oh, specifically I think cars look cool on screen. They're like very cool in movies.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll ever be able to afford a cool car, so I just I don't
live
think I can
vicariously
actually.
through film.
Yeah, I can't consider myself a car person, really, because I'll never have the opportunity to, even get behind the wheel of one. But I love the way cars look on screen. These movies taught me that, and so what it eventually gave me an appreciation of is like I went deep down the rabbit hole of like now I've seen Vanishing Point, The Driver is one of my favorite movies.
There you go.
And a lot of those movies, it's American Muscle is what looks so good on the screen, and so that has kind of become my favorite kind of car.
That's what we learned this lap because we're cutting in classic car movies and in the middle of all of our Fast and Furious movies, and like there's basically 3 cars that are in every 70s and 80s car movie, and they're always the same Charger and Challenger. Like it's those 2 cars.
Charger, Challenger, Mustang.
In every movie.
I mean, the Challenger might be my favorite car, and it might be because it's just in every good fucking movie about cars.
Yep. Agreed.
And it's a good-looking car. Like that is an unquestionably like great-looking car.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I agree.
I've loved that since I saw Death Proof. I was just like, oh no, this is cool. Even before I knew what Vanishing Point was. When I
know. And have you guys seen Vanishing Point at this point?
We watched it this lap. Yeah, we did.
Oh man, that movie is so good. I think I really like that movie
too.
Do you prefer Corona or Belgian ale?
I definitely prefer Belgian ale, but boy, guys, come on. That's not to say I'm above a Corona.
Oh no,
with the fan.
It's all preference.
Absolutely.
It's all preference. It's no wrong answers here. Okay, now we're doing a job. We're out. We need to take down a bad guy. We need to steal a safe. We need to do something. I don't know what we're doing. Are you in the field? Are you a racer? Are you out there helping us in the field? Or are you back in HQ? Are you the man in the chair? Are you the designer?
Sadly, I have to admit that I'm probably in HQ.
Okay.
I don't think I could handle the field as much as I'd
Not
like to
sad
think
at all.
I could be badass
we need the man in
out
the
there.
chair.
This is another one of the personality ones, Joey, that like if you're here with us right now,
100%.
you're probably the man in the chair.
Yep.
Yeah, like
Otherwise, you'd be out doing shit.
at best, I'm Luke Evans' character, right? Where like I'm mostly behind a computer, but like sometimes if I have to, I will get my hands dirty.
I mean, it's the same thing that I keep saying that like people who are Letty don't have podcasts. That's what it is.
Right.
Like, that's not to say that we're not going to have people who are Letty on the podcast, but like if you host a podcast, you're probably not a Letty.
Right, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now, Garrett, we say enough of the chair. We need you on this job. You come out with us. We have to go in another room and steal a car. We're like, we need you to distract this room. We need you to sing a song, karaoke style. What song are you singing to distract this room?
Oh my God, I don't know. I hate karaoke. This is a terrible question. I don't like this at all.
You have to.
I know.
To
this
save
is
us, you
terrible.
have to get the crowd on your side to distract.
Oh wait, I have to get the crowd on my because you were saying
you have
distraction.
To distract them.
Okay.
Distract them.
Because distraction I can do by just like. I mean, like anything, right? Like, I don't know. I'm trying to think. What's a song that would just sound terrible if I tried to... Well, all of them. But, yeah, I don't know. Oh, you know what I would do? I would totally do... I think it's from the 8 soundtrack. I would just do that... what the hell is that? The song that was the single from that about having horsepower?
No.
Fate of the Furious.
Fate of the Furious had a
song.
single...
Oh, it's called Horses by P&B Rock, Kodak Black, and A Boogie.
Yeah, and the chorus is like, all the horses in my car going yeah, or something like that. I would probably do that just because I think it's very funny that they refer to the horses in their car. That was a terrible answer. I don't know how that would actually be distracting.
We've gotten everything, man.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just curious about it. Yeah.
Horses by P&B Rock, Kodak Black, and A Boogie. Okay.
Guys, listen to that as soon as we get off of this. It is one of the funniest songs that's ever been made for a movie.
I love these soundtracks. Like, again,
me
watching
too.
Hobbs and Shaw today, I was like, I fucking love the Hobbs and Shaw soundtrack. And I think that it will go down as, like, it's up there with, like, Tokyo Drift for me at this point. It's like the first one, Tokyo Drift and Hobbs and Shaw are like, wow, you guys fucking nailed it on these.
Yeah, that Tokyo Drift soundtrack is so good. I love that Teriyaki Boys song. That's like it's like so good.
We are successful. We steal all the money. We get all of our wildest dreams. We go to Las Vegas. We go to Rio. We go to Monte Carlo. We go somewhere, Abu Dhabi. We got to go to the roulette table, and we got to put it all on the line. Are you putting all that money you just won on black or on red?
Black, knowing absolutely nothing about that game or gambling.
It's a 50-50 shot, man. Well, kind of, but yeah.
Yeah, right? Don't they say bet on black?
Wesley Snipes says always bet on black. Yeah, that's
All right.
that's burned into people's brains.
Yeah.
Everyone's brain, apparently.
Yep.
Yeah.
For a movie that no one has seen, Passenger 57.
I didn't even know I was referencing a movie.
Yeah? And you call yourself Philadelphia. Would you rather, knowing you're safe either way, would you rather jump a car out of a plane or drive a car into a plane before the plane takes off? Knowing you're safe either way, knowing that you're not going to get hurt or killed, just going to have the adrenaline rush, you're going to have the fear, whatever emotions you have, drive a car into a plane before it takes off, or parachute a car out of a plane like they do in 7.
I think that parachuting out of a plane is probably just like definitively more interesting and exciting than just like
It is.
Pulling up and parking inside of a how different
Well,
is
it's
that from
moving.
a garage?
The plane's moving.
Okay, so we're talking like infinite runway and
Infinite
end
runway,
of 6.
yes.
Yeah. Okay, so there's something inherently badass about like finally pulling up into that moving plane and like doing a Tokyo drift at right up to somebody's shoes where they're like standing there waiting for you, But I still think parachuting out of a plane is probably cooler. That's probably what I want to do.
Okay.
Cooler. Yeah, I always go by what's scarier, right? Like
And speaking of cooler, metaphorically, not literally, but metaphorically, would you rather die, because one of these is very literally much cooler than the other temperature-wise, would you rather die in a fiery explosion or by drowning in icy water?
Oh, boy.
Tough. It's tough.
Yeah, my initial instinct was to say burn, thinking that I feel like I've heard that drowning is like unexpectedly painful, but then the icy water would maybe just kind of like shock you so fast that the rest of it would be okay. Yeah, I think I'm going drowning. I think I'm drowning in the icy water.
Okay. It's uncommon, but I think it's what is... No, wait. What did I do? Oh, no. I did fire explosion. You did icy water, Joe. I mean, Gemini, who knows what you actually stick with, but...
yeah.
Is the word oil one syllable or two?
This is a one-syllable word, my friend.
Oof.
Oil.
No.
Oil.
It's neither, but I can't believe all the momentum I had has been absolutely lost by this. Whew.
Yep.
What a reversal.
In my opinion, a syllable, right? To indicate a syllable, you would write the word down and you would break up where those syllables are. And you would not be able to do that with oil because it's one syllable. Right, but where would you draw the line that breaks that up into those
Between
two?
the I and the L. Oil.
No, I don't think so, because I think the L part,
Oil.
the I is part of giving you the L sound, so it's oil. It's all one sound.
So technically what it is, and somebody wrote in to tell us this, it is a diphthong, which is basically it's one and a half syllable. So it's
right,
neither.
yeah.
But...
That makes sense. That makes sense to me. I know what you're saying now. Yeah. It's one syllable, baby.
Okay. Now, neither of these chains are in the greater Philadelphia area. I don't know if you've had either of these. I don't know if you have a preference between either of these. But do you prefer In-N-Out or Whataburger?
So I've heard you guys talk about this a lot, and all it has made me curious about is what is Whataburger? I'm trying to create a way to make that into a pun. Yeah, I can't get the pun out of it.
Have you had In-N-Out?
I think I have had In-N-Out because I have cousins in California. I visited them a couple times.
Now, that's interesting that you don't remember.
I
That
don't.
Was that unmemorable. That was unremarkable enough to not remember.
It wasn't garbage like fucking Whataburger.
No, he just doesn't know it. It's a mystery. There's something positive about not knowing what it is.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I feel like it didn't strike me as terribly different from just like fast food in general. So it didn't really sway me one way or the other, which is why I probably don't remember it. But I don't know what Whataburger is, so
I'll just say TBD for now. I'll just say that it's too soon to judge.
Yeah.
What's your normal go-to burger?
Do you guys have this is not my normal go-to burger, but do you guys have Shake Shacks?
We do.
Yeah.
Yep.
For sure.
Is
I got one
that
in
what a
Connecticut.
Whataburger is?
No, it's its own thing. Shake Shack is too high of a tier for
Okay,
so In-N-Out.
Whataburger
It's like
is
mid-tier. No,
okay.
Sorry. Shake Shack, I consider it mid-tier. Like,
Yeah.
along with, like,
Shake
Five
Shack's like an
Guys.
expensive
Agreed.
fast food burger. Like
Agreed.
That's more in line, I think, and it didn't always used to be this way, but now it's more in line with like Five Guys.
Yep.
Like
Yeah.
Whataburger is like, I guess it's kind of
McDonald's
In-N-Out.
level.
It's like a half tier above McDonald's. I mean, it's not.
That's fair. Okay.
It's
I'll take
not.
that.
It's a mustard based burger is the best. It's just like it's cheap. Like you can get it.
It's like Burger King,
affordable.
though.
But yeah,
It's like Burger King.
it's not a particularly special. It's just a regional delicacy, I guess, of
Gotcha.
Texas.
Gotcha.
So I don't know.
Fair. Fair.
Okay.
Oh, my go-to burger, by the way, is a place here in Philadelphia called Punk Burger, and they are
Ooh.
delicious.
Have you
Punk
been
burger.
to? So
I'm gonna
you
remember
do drink
this.
beer. Have you been to Joe? I don't remember the name of the brewery.
Tired Hands?
Tired Hands.
In Ardmore.
I have not been to Tired Hands in Ardmore. I
Fucking
want to.
love it.
Yeah, I would love to go. A buddy of mine for a long time worked at Neshaminy Creek. Are you guys familiar with their beer?
My friend's friend owns Neshaminy Creek.
I probably know your friend's friend. Yeah, Neshaminy Creek is great. That's the brewery that I go to most out here, but I've not been to Tired Hands yet.
So Tired Hands
Tired
also
Hands is
opened a
great.
pop-up shop in Fishtown.
Yeah.
Or a beer garden in Fishtown, but their Ardmore one, they also have like a Michelin star chef on staff. It's great. It's great.
Whoa,
Food is
okay.
fucking awesome. Take a ride up there and go eat too. Tired
I
Hands is
will.
like one of my favorite breweries to go to. Like we would drive from Connecticut to go to Tired Hands.
That
all the
sounds great.
time.
And they have their own kitchen. They're not like...
Yeah, they have their own
Yeah,
kitchen.
nice.
There's actually two of them. They have like a charcuterie kind of like cafe, and then they also have like one down the street that has like a full kitchen. Yeah, I love
sounds
Tired
great.
Hands. We're big beer guys too, so.
Oh, I
Okay.
love it, yeah.
No context. Revenge of the Nerds or The Dark Knight.
Dark Knight. Why those two movies?
Because at the end of 8, when Roman and Tej are hitting on Ramsey, and Roman says, "You really going to go with Revenge of the Nerds?" talking about Tej over the Dark Knight, calling himself Batman. So
Yeah.
it's one of the more lopsided results that we have, because like people either don't know or don't like Revenge of the Nerds. Everybody seemingly loves the Dark Knight, so
Yeah.
it's
Actually, my answer on that one was less to do with liking The Dark Knight, which I do, and more to just do with like Revenge of the Nerds is maybe one of the 80s comedies that's aged the worst. You know
Yep.
what I mean?
That's what everybody
so-
says. Yeah.
if you hear the phrase, okay, let me take a step back. So you come up to visit. You might
a
know
breath.
this. You might know this question. You might know this question is coming. You come up to visit. I'm like, Garrett, I got the best place. We're gonna go out to lunch. It's gonna be great. You know, it's got little red candles. It's got wood tables. It's got
Plantain.
plantains. It's got food all over the place. When I use the phrase to describe a restaurant as it having food all over the place, what does that mean to you?
Food all over the place.
Yeah.
I mean, frankly, the first thing I picture is just like a restaurant in disarray after some sort of, I don't know, food fight between all of the
Okay.
patrons and cooking staff.
Between so it's staff versus customers.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
through the window.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, somebody's steak came out like undercooked in a way that really made them furious, and it just erupted into a civil war between the staff and the customers.
I like
Wow.
I like the imagery of the food coming through like the serving window.
Yeah.
Like somebody threw their steak back at like into
That's
the
right.
kitchen, and then the kitchen staff was like, "Well, fuck that," and they
That's
just
right.
like lost it that day.
And it's a Denny's, so they do those Grand Slam meals, you know, and so they're literally
Multiple plates.
slamming Grand Slams across the.
You have
across the
6
restaurant.
different plates just being flung like frisbees. I love it.
So now, similarly, sort of a description. This is open-ended again. You know, it feels like every one of these questions so far we've had like the multiple choice, either or. This for the second time in a row, it's a short essay question, short answer essay. If you hear a person is described as having no knees, what does that mean? If you say, "Oh, no knees Denise," you know no knees Denise. What does having no knees, or what does somebody calling someone no knees Denise or no knees whatever? What does that mean to you?
Am I right that this is like a reference to? No, it's not, is it? Oh, right.
It is.
Yeah. Right. I fucking forgot about that. Yeah. No, you know what I was actually going to say was this a reference to a No Effects song? And then I remembered, no, that's I forget what they call her in that song. There's a No Effects song about like a girl that doesn't have legs.
Yeah, this is about I think it's in
Yeah,
7 where
Seven,
Brian
I
is kind
think.
of-
Right. Roman, right?
Yep.
Yes. Oh, the No Effects song is called "She's Nubs."
Yeah, she's Nubs. Yep, that's what it is. The War on Errorism, I think, was the album. Yeah, I don't know why I know that, actually. I'm not even a big No Effects fan. No knee. Yeah, you know what? I never even thought about what the hell that would mean. No
Oh
knees
yeah, no,
Denise.
most people don't.
It's a one-line throwaway joke in 7 that we've like really tried to
We
figure
honed in
out
on.
who the fuck was talking about.
I mean,
what.
frankly, the thing that it makes me think about, and forgive me for this because I don't know what they're trying, but it makes me think about doggy style sex.
Okay.
But
Oh.
and somehow her being bad at it or ill fitted for it or so. I don't even like to be talking about a made up woman this way, but
she's like really floppy. Like she has no like structure to
She has
her.
no foundation.
She has no
Yeah.
foundation to her doggy style positionings.
right, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know why that's what my brain went to for that, and I feel really bad that it's what it went to for that. I'm not.
Hey, man.
Well, she doesn't even exist. Maybe most
I
likely.
know she's
so.
yeah. She's a made up person in a really bizarre franchise of movies, but I don't like that. That's what I said about No Knees Denise.
It's okay. I mean,
I regret
you
it.
know, It's fine. It's totally fine. Do you have a favorite character in the franchise? Much easier question, as opposed to just coming up with no knees, what no knees means. Do you have a favorite character in this franchise?
Is Dom my favorite character ultimately? It might be Dom.
I don't think we have a Dom yet, which is... oh, no, we have one Dom. Larson said Dom, but that's crazy. Dom, yeah, not a very popular pick, even though Dom is like the lifeblood.
The easy answer is Han, I think.
Of course, yeah.
Han is so cool, and he's so fun to spend a movie with. I'm a big fan of the actor Joe Taslim, who is one of the sort of evil crew in Furious 6.
Oh, wow. He's been in a lot of great movies.
He's in a ton of
The
great
Raid.
movies.
Yep, okay, very
I
cool.
love that actor. He's a great martial artist, which is mostly what they use him for in 6.
Wait, is he the guy who slams Brian? Is he the guy who, like, Brian sends down the elevator shaft?
I can't remember. He's the guy, though, that there's a 2-on-1 fight with. Han and...
Yep.
Who is it? It's Han and Roman? Take him on in
Tej,
like
I
a
think
subway?
it's Tej?
Maybe it's Tej. Yeah, it might be Tej.
The subway fights, yeah.
Yeah, the subway fight. Yeah. He's a great martial artist. He's like super fun to watch.
Yes.
The thing I love about him is he smolders. I don't know how else to describe that, but anytime you see his face, he's just smoldering all the time. I would love to see him be that guy. But I think ultimately Dom... I mean, it's kind of just because he's who the movies are really about, but he is the most interesting character in the series. He's the one that we know the most about, I think.
Are the movies about Dom or are they about Brian?
I think they're about Dom. I mean, I think that they started about Brian. I think that unfortunately we lose Brian, and that forces it to shift the focus to Dom a little bit. And I think in doing so, it almost retroactively makes it a lot about Dom more than Brian. But also... I like it or not, Vin Diesel is the sort of, leading producer, in some ways, mastermind behind this series. Even if the first one was about Brian, I think pretty immediately once you bring Diesel back into the series, once you get to 4, they are Diesel movies that Brian gets to be a part of. They are Dom movies that Brian gets to tag along for, in my opinion.
I get it.
So I'm writing down Dom/Ja. His name is Ja.
Oh, is that Joe Taslim's name?
Yes, Joe Taslim. And he's not the one down the elevator shaft. I think that might be Tony Jaa, which is different than this Ja, because that's Jaa.
I totally forgot that Tony Jaa is also in that movie. Jesus Christ.
But yeah, Ja dies when he and a guy named Dellinger are killed when Tej rams their vehicle into a cargo plane's crosswind. So he dies on the runway. So now, to kick off the conversation about Hobbs and Shaw, we're going to ask 3 questions that aren't necessarily about Hobbs and Shaw. One of them is, but you can answer one of these, you can answer 2 of these, you can answer all 3 of these, whatever you want. The floor is yours. Do you have a favorite car? I know you mentioned a couple before. Do you have a favorite car movie other than these movies, other than Fast and Furious, a favorite car movie, number 1? You said you might never be able to afford a fancy car, but do you have a Barbie dream car? If money were no object, what's your dream car? And then number 3, do you have a favorite car or car stunt in Hobbs and Shaw? So favorite non-Fast and Furious car movie, Barbie dream car, favorite car or car stunt in this movie. And these are the last time, Joe. This is the last time we're going to ask these questions because next lap, new questions.
Yeah, that's true.
The Driver is probably my favorite car movie. Have you guys seen The Driver?
I haven't.
Yes.
The Driver is incredible, and what I will say about The Driver is the first time I saw it, it was a 3-star movie. The second time I saw it, it was a 4-star movie. And when I saw it again and every time since, it's been a 5-star movie. It is a movie that just, I think gets better every time you watch it.
Interesting.
It is directed by Walter Hill, he of The Warriors fame. I don't even know how to describe it. It's a very quiet movie. The main character hardly ever talks. Bruce Dern plays opposite him and never stops talking. It's very fun. It really is just 2 car chases. It's it starts with a car chase and it ends with a car chase, and in between is just this very moody kind of crime story that I just love. It's a wonderful, wonderful movie.
Sounds
I
awesome.
can't recommend it enough.
I think I've only seen it once because I gave it 3 stars on Letterboxd. So next time I see it, I'm sure if I watched it this lap, if we did it in the classic car movies, I probably would have given it 4 stars. So
yeah,
I feel like I'm right there with you. So The Driver, I think that's for sure on our list for next time. But
it is.
When we do classic car movies again, we will get to that. So cool.
The car, my Barbie dream car, would be, and please Google this because I don't think you'll know what this car is by name.
Go ahead.
The 1956 BMW Isetta 300. Isetta. Isetta?
What is this?
Whoa, that's a weird looking car.
Oh, it's like a Fiat.
Oh, it's weirder than a Fiat.
But it opens in the front.
It's so goofy, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so there's this director, Herschel Gordon Lewis. He made a bunch of splatter movies in the 60s
people
and
might
70s.
know. I don't know that people are going to know him, but if you've seen the movie Juno, the horror movie that they're watching in Juno is The Wizard of Gore, which he made.
That's the one that people would probably recognize is the name of, or Blood Feast is the
I've
other one.
seen
That's
something
kind of...
weird. I think I saw that in Austin. I think that was probably a Weird Wednesday or a Terror Tuesday movie. Yes.
Yeah, and Something Weird is kind of fun. It's like about a witch that has like a tattoo of lips on her kneecap. It's really weird.
No knees.
Yeah, exactly. So he made a movie called How to Make a Doll that is pretty terrible. Most of his movies are terrible. I can't, but How to Make a Doll, I can't even really recommend, even in the terribleness of his movies. However, it does feature this car, the 1956 BMW Isetta 300, which is like the smallest car I've ever seen. It's practically the size of it's like practically the size of a smart car. You know, it's like really small.
Yeah.
It is so small that they did not put doors on it. All they did was make what is the hood and windshield of the car one piece that you can sort of push open, and then that has like the steering wheel on like a big crankshaft that just kind of moves out of the way when you open the front of the car to step in and out of it.
Wild.
Here's a very important history. If you look on Google Images, one of these suggested searches is Steve Urkel. Apparently, in Family Matters, Urkel drove an Isetta.
That does not surprise me, because even in this movie, this movie is from 1968, I think. Mm-hmm. Even in this movie, all they do is make fun of this car. The main character is supposed to be like a total schlub. The fact that this is his car is part of what highlights that for you, that he's just a fucking schlubby moron, you know?
Makes sense.
And it's like a terrible movie, and all they do is shit on this car that they got for it. It's so funny.
I like it. This thing is interesting. This would be a lot of fun to like have. It reminds me, it's like something you would give like, you know, a new driver, right? Like it's like very small. Like it'd just be like, oh, this is cute.
I like that in your review. What you did not mention yet is that in your review for How to Make a Doll, you mentioned that this has a hefty 13 horsepower, which, hoo boy.
Yeah.
Oh, man, all my horses, you sing your song, brother.
That's right. Yeah, it's a
13
one-cylinder engine, if I remember right.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a
lawnmower.
real piece of shit. And God, would I love to own one. It would be so funny to have one of those in my driveway.
Oh,
and
for
just
sure.
what I would love to do is hand the keys to someone and be like, figure out how the fuck to get in that car. Go ahead.
They apparently they brought it back, and they were talking about bringing it back as an electric vehicle a couple years ago. So I don't know if it's back or not.
Why
Someone
the
also souped it
fuck
up to
would
a
they-
715 horsepower. Maybe that's in a video game. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe in
Oh
a
my
video game.
God.
Where are you going to put the engine for 715
I
horses?
don't know.
Why would you ever use that design for a modern car? Who would ever want a car that you had to literally move the steering wheel out of the way to get in it?
Yeah, but as Smart Car, man. I mean, it's very similar, minus the goofy front opening part.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's so funny. It's like the funniest. What was the other question I forgot in
The
my
last
search
question
for
is
this
favorite
ridiculous
car or favorite car stunt in this movie?
Oh, right, in Hobbs and Shaw.
Yep.
I mean, we could just do the next hour on How to Make a Doll if you'd prefer. I mean, we haven't
No,
seen it, but we can
it's all
wing it.
right. Hobbs and Shaw is another one of these movies that I don't think has great car stunts in it.
Sure.
Okay.
I wish that it had more. So probably my favorite one is the crazy chain of cars that you get to at
Oh,
the
of course,
end.
that's a great answer.
Because honestly, it's the only scene in the movie that truly feels like a Fast and Furious action sequence.
Rachel pointed out how much fun she liked watching Brixton on the motorcycle do like all that fun like kind of cyborgy motorcycle-y things.
Yes.
So I get that's not like a car stunt, but like when she pointed that out, I was like, yeah, you know what? Like as much as you're saying we don't get like a lot of like Fast and the Furious type stunts, we do get those, which are very cool and interesting because I don't think we get like a ton of motorcycle anything anywhere else. So
I actually agree with you because the weird thing about those things to me is like I tend to not like in these movies where they do like I like that these movies are unrealistic in a lot of ways, but I don't like when they're doing stuff that I feel like, well, there's no fucking possible way anybody actually did this, which is what a lot of Brixton's motorcycle stuff feels like. Yet it looks so fucking cool. It's one of the only purely digital car things in these movies that I think looks incredibly fucking cool. And I really like that stuff.
We might have talked about this forever ago, but past guest of the show and friend of the pod, Jordan Poland Clark, said that when she saw Black Panther and they have that like remote driving where Shuri is driving and like there's the car and he like whatever, she's like, I want to see the Fast and the Furious do it because like they could do it even better. It's like take all the weird crazy car stuff that you've never seen anywhere else and then put it in the hands of people who like know car movies and just let them run with it. And I think that's a good point. Like it's always the weird, wacky, I've never seen this before in my life, but okay, let's try it.
like why isn't Tej or Ramsey the one who's like remote controlling the cars? And Cypher kind of does it with the like zombie cars, but she doesn't like drive it like cool. She just like kind of drives them all off of like one direction, right? So
yeah, and actually the thing about that sequence that is cool, but is also again like that movie in particular. I think what is that director? F. Gary Gray.
Yep.
He did okay with that movie, but he's just such a Justin Lin really put such a stamp on those movies by making so many of them back to back. You know, and Juan I think actually picked up that torch very well with 7. I don't think Gray does it as well in 8, but the zombie car sequence, the thing I like about that is that it looks like a herd of animals.
Oh, like a stampede.
Yes.
Interesting.
I think that is a cool fucking idea. That's what that looks like. That they tried to visualize it like it's like buffaloes stampeding, right?
Yeah,
I think
little Lion
that
King
is
action.
a really cool idea. But I hate that it all just looks like digital mumbo jumbo. You know what I mean? It's like it doesn't look like anything.
Yeah, I get it.
Now, the floor is yours. Hobbs and Shaw. Your 7th, if I remember right, 7th favorite movie in the franchise. What do you love about this? What do you not like about it? How do you feel about this movie in relation to the rest of the movies? It feels like the biggest issue that people have with this movie, aside from people who just like objectively don't like it, but it feels like a lot of people think that it shouldn't be considered a Fast and Furious movie. Like it's obviously in the same universe, characters have crossed over, but they feel like it's too far removed, it doesn't fit in the franchise. So how do you feel about that? What do you love about this movie? What do you wish was better? Anywhere you want to go, the floor is yours. Hobbs and Shaw, go.
So I have complicated feelings about this movie because on one hand, I want to say that I kind of agree that this does not totally fit the milieu of this series. Here's maybe the best way to describe this. Watching it this time, what I realized was, and I've noticed this with a couple of movies recently, Rise of Skywalker really gave me these vibes too. I feel like this movie is 2 movies crammed into one movie. It feels
long.
It feels like its own sequel is in this movie.
I felt that this time too. That's so crazy you say that because I feel like when they get to Samoa, that's like the sequel.
Yes.
Like that's the definitive line that I drew that I was like it actually has like 2 acts, right? It's like the first act and then that, and then then the Samoa part definitely felt like a sequel to me too. Yep, I'm 100% with you, brother.
For one thing, you know, as most movies are now, these are too long, generally. Yep. I think even the good ones are often too long. This one, you really distinctly feel that because the storytelling itself, as we're both kind of agreeing here, like, kind of divides it really distinctively in half.
Yep.
And it feels like 2 kind of different movies. But here's the thing, is that first movie, the movie before we get to Samoa, is the movie that does not feel like a Fast and Furious movie to me, really at all.
Interesting.
It's a very fun action movie. I think where this movie rocks is the leads are so charismatic and so fun to spend a movie with, it doesn't matter to me that it ultimately doesn't feel that much like a Fast and Furious movie. Sure. I think it is just brimming with like charisma and not just among our favorites who, I love both Jason Statham and The Rock.
I mean, who doesn't?
Both within the context of the series, outside of the series. I love both of them. I think they play off of each other great. Their charisma, it's crazy. They have so much chemistry. But Vanessa Kirby is such a welcome addition to this universe, I think.
Yeah.
She's so fucking good in this movie. Frankly, the one thing that I really don't like about this movie is that they kind of sideline her for the Samoa stuff. I wish that she was as involved in that as she is in the rest of the movie. But otherwise, I just think she's awesome, and I love that she feels so much like she belongs with these 2 huge heavy hitters of like charisma.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
We've talked about before about how impressive it is how like fully formed she just kind of appears.
Yes.
Like going back to what you were saying before about Hobbs kind of seeing, I don't remember what word you used.
His evolution is like really clumsy, I think.
Yeah, because like he starts out as like 100% all business, and the Hobbs that we have in 5 is not even the Hobbs that we have in 6, let alone 7, 8, or this movie. Like he's grown, he's changed, he's become a character,
he evolves for
become
sure.
a little sillier, become a father figure, a literal father, and whatever. Hattie just shows up here. You're like, oh, I understand. I get who she is.
Yeah,
and it's a little bit because of like the Shaw history that we have, and like we know Queenie, and we know Dex, and we know like their interactions and her talking about. But like even before we know who Hattie is, just seeing her on the helicopter, you're like, oh, she's a badass.
She's
and
a badass. Yeah,
she's beautiful, and like all this stuff, and you kind of bring in like if you've seen Mission Impossible Fallout, you bring in a little bit of that. If you've seen The Crown, you bring in a little bit of that, and she just comes on screen in a way that is so impressive. I feel like it's rare in this franchise for a character to be like Giselle didn't have a name for 2 movies. Like,
I know.
Like she's a great character that they're just like, yeah, whatever, we don't need to give her a name. And it's
Yeah.
crazy to me how the series has like not always treated all its characters great, but like how well they do with Hattie from the jump.
I agree. Like, people often credit the series with being kind of a turning point in the history of blockbusters because it's such a, multi-dimensional cast. You've got people
Yep.
from all over the world in this cast. It's sort of also they make a ton of money probably because of that, because so many people are represented by the cast of this movie, right?
We
Which
always
is great.
say that, yep.
But they also get a lot of credit for their women, and I've always thought that's a little strange. I think as the series goes on, they realize that the women are important, and they
Yes.
do get better about giving them stuff to do and treating them with a little more respect. Especially Seven, I think, really levels up in that regard. I agree with you that it's like, in the grand scheme of these, the women are often kind of forgotten, as they often are in blockbuster movies. And this one is one of the only ones where we are presented with like a new female character that is not just like a sex symbol or just there to be a target for some of the men. She goes toe-to-toe with these guys and feels like she's the third lead of the movie. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I don't know that there's been another one of these movies where it feels like there's a female character. Well, maybe Cypher, but she's like the villain. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. And it also, that makes it super disappointing for me that, like you guys were saying, and how, like, she gets kind of cut out. In the same sense, I feel terrible that we don't get enough Madam M in this, right? That's
Yeah.
who I want to see a lot more
I
of,
feel
too.
like that's kind of like a teaser for like a future. Like we
agree,
don't
yeah.
know if definitively if it's happening, but they have the all-female spin-off that they've been talking about.
Right.
They have the inevitable Hobbs and Shaw 2, which I think they've greenlit since we talked about this last. Like we know there's going to be more of this world, and it feels like Madam M is kind of like a, well, they need to get things here somewhere, right? And like we're going to introduce this like beautiful, badass, mysterious character. She's got this history with Dex. We're going to let her do her thing. Maybe we'll bring in Timothy Chalamet next movie. Who knows?
I hope to God we bring in Timothy Chalamet.
Because now that Isa and Timothy Chalamet are
How
in a
many
relationship,
times have I said that
apparently-
on this podcast?
Oh, I was going to say, where are you guys getting this from? Oh, that
Oh
makes
yeah,
sense.
no, they just this week as we're recording, news broke that they are in a relationship. Which
What
is
happened?
Like,
He just turned 18 or something?
no, I looked up their ages. Dude. She's 30 and he's 24, so it's not wildly different, but it's still like, all right.
Yeah.
Whenever we like talk about casting new people in this movie, like in the franchise, in the Fastiverse, I always like try to add in Timothy Chalamet, and Joey doesn't understand why. I don't really understand why, but like I just want to see like a really like serious Timothy Chalamet like just enter this franchise for some reason.
Well, now the world is just giving it to you. Yeah.
I hope so, yeah.
Also, maybe this would allow Timothy to shed some of that seriousness, right? Like maybe this is where he comes out of his shell a little bit and gets
I would love it.
gets a little strange, a little goofy.
I want everybody.
Less
I want
angst.
everyone in Hollywood in these movies. Like just
Oh,
full
I agree.
stop everyone.
Dan's pitch is that eventually we need to get to the point where we reveal that Stallone is Dom's father, is Mr.
We have
Toretto.
a theory recently is that
Go
we
ahead.
want Harrison Ford, but his character Bob Falfa from American Graffiti to be Dom's father.
Yeah, I love it. That's amazing. Yeah, love
He's
that.
like a
Love that.
rambler that was like racing around California and
Yep.
just like fathered Dom.
Well, and also it would finally explain why Dom talks the way he does. Because
Yeah.
Harrison Ford, he just talks like this. I'm a Harrison Ford.
You watch A Star Is Born, you're like, why is he doing a Sam Elliott impression? And then you find out that Sam Elliott plays his brother. You're like, oh, he's been the spoilers, I guess, for Star Is Born. Sorry, whatever. But
Right.
he's been stealing everything about his brother the entire time, and it's like,
Right.
oh, that's really fucked up. And so like here, you're like, why does Dom talk like that? Oh,
Have you guys talked about the scene from? I have to imagine you have. You've seen these so many times because it didn't totally hit my ears the right way until like the third time I saw it. I think it's in Fast Five. Dom and Brian are like out on the porch of a house and they start talking about their dads. And Dom goes, "I remember everything about my father." Have you guys talked about that specific delivery? It's the craziest thing in the entire
No,
franchise.
not about the delivery. We've talked about that scene and about
Oh,
how.
sure.
Okay,
yeah.
go on. Either put your Blu-ray in or go to YouTube as soon as we're done. Just play just that part on a loop, just a couple of times, and you'll hear it. He goes, "I remember everything about my father." He says "father" so fucking crazy. It's so funny.
I remember everything about my father. I remember everything about my father. My father. My father.
I always get hung up on the Too Fast line readings because like I always think Brian does like some of the worst deliveries of any of the Fast and
Oh,
Furious
yeah.
movies in Too Fast. Like they had to like ADR a bunch of it over that you obviously see, but like some of the deliveries he was just like, I don't want to be here. You know, like he just like gives it like the most bland, Like, I'm just reading the lines, bro. Like, that's what you're gonna get from me today.
Yeah, I mean, actually, one of the trajectories that I kind of love over the course of the Fast and Furious movies, watching them, is Paul Walker improve as an actor.
Yeah.
I actually think he's one of the ones that most evidently like becomes a better actor as the series goes on.
And, like, gets back into, like, being like, oh, okay, like, these are my bread and butter, and these are fun, right?
Right,
Like,
yep.
he definitely hits a point where he's like, okay, I did the first one, I'm gonna be serious, and then, like, goes through the evolution of, like, I don't want to be doing these, to be like, okay, like, I'm in it. Like, we're good now.
We were talking about something before. What were we talking about before?
I was kind of going through my, like, Hobbs and Shaw. I like it because of all the charisma of the leads and stuff, but I kind of dislike it because it doesn't feel that much like a Fast and Furious movie. The second half, when they get to Samoa, is what starts to feel like a Fast and Furious movie. That's where we get family. Family finally becomes a big part of this movie. Cars. I mean, there's hardly cars in this movie up until that point. There's a little bit. It's not like they're devoid of it, but there's hardly any good car sequences until you get to that finale. And then even the stuff with, like, we got rid of all the guns, so all we have are these hand-to-hand combat weapons, so that means we've got to now design, like, we've got to, now this has to become Swiss Family Robinson. We have to turn the island into a trap. Like,
Yeah.
I that feels like Fast and Furious to me. That's the kind of melodrama that feels like comes with a Fast and Furious movie, where it's a kind of tongue-in-cheek. It is played for laughs, but there's still stakes to it.
I like that vibe, like you were saying, with the, like, bring the natural weapons that they had in,
Yeah.
and you set it up like 300 and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You're right. Like, that does feel parts of that it makes it a Fast and the Furious movie. I do think the second half does play more Fast and the Furious, but, like, in an interesting way. The first half kind of plays like what a modern Fast and the Furious is like, and the second half kind of plays more like the family, like the overture of like what a Fast and the Furious is.
I have two comparisons I can make. I think the first half feels like the trailer for a Fast and Furious movie, where it's just all the cool, fun, funny shit,
Yes, yeah.
And the second half feels like what fans of the series know it to really be. The sort of melodramatic, kind of weirder, a little goofier. Like, now the other thing I will say when I watched it this time, and this doesn't speak well of this movie necessarily, but I don't know if you guys have seen X Return of Xander Cage.
I haven't. I've seen no X's. I'm saving them for
this. I haven't seen the
for
first two, but this third one is a beautiful movie.
I'm in the exact same boat. I did not see the first two. I don't think I ever plan on seeing the first two. The third one is a mind-blowingly good, terrible movie.
Yeah.
It's a real pile of shit, but it's so entertaining. And here's the thing. The reason it's so good is Vin Diesel was like, yeah, I mean, I've made 8 of these Fast and Furious movies, and by the 5th one, we figured out the formula. Let's just apply that formula to another one of my characters.
Yep.
They basically made a Fast and Furious sequel and just called it X.
Interesting. Okay.
And that's why it works. It very much feels of a piece with the Fast and Furious movies, and that's why it works.
Joe, just so you know, and you're going to forget about this because it's just in one ear out the other, but the opening scene is him literally skiing down a jungled mountain to fix cable in time to watch a soccer game on TV. But it's like
that's
an
right up
action
my
scene
alley.
where he's got skis on, or he like makes skis, he fashions skis to go down a mountain through a jungle to fix a cable line so they can watch soccer as a town. It's the greatest. And that's how a movie opens.
Toni Collette is amazing in that movie and is doing what you wish, now I can't think of her name, is doing as Cypher.
Every time I watch Fate of the Furious and Dom's on the plane, I'm like, where is the girl who is so thirsty for Vin Diesel? I'm like, oh, that's the other movie. Like, there's just a character in X that is just like, she wants Vin's D so bad.
Yeah, and she's like 30 years younger than him, too. It's wild.
It's so crazy how, like, it's literally a Fast and Furious movie. It's not Dom, it's Xander Cage, which is, again, a crazy name.
And so now, to relate that back to this movie, as I was watching Hobbs and Shaw this time, I kind of realized that part of the reason this movie, I think, doesn't quite work as well as a Fast and Furious movie is they made a X movie. They took the Fast and Furious franchise and tried to apply some X to it. For instance, the Madam M character feels very much like one of the women that Vin Diesel goes to meet in X Return of Xander Cage. There's like multiple scenes in that movie where he just arrives at random islands and women that he used to sleep with are like, oh, here's all this technology that we're good at. You should use it.
Yeah, make out with me and here's some gifts.
So this is what I was saying before, I think, is that like I feel like the way that people make movies now, which has changed dramatically, even not let alone since the first movie, but like since like the fifth movie, like especially in the Marvel verse, in the MCU era, I want to inject a cool character, and if people like really connect with them, we will have an entire movie, or we'll feature them more in a different movie. And so like I feel like Madam M is like maybe a character they don't have fully fleshed out yet, or maybe they do and they don't have a place for her in this movie, but they're like, okay.
But instead of trying to sell you on a whole new character on
and
an
like,
own
oh my
movie.
god, we need more of her, and so maybe they have in their mind the all-female spin-off. Maybe they're going to incorporate her. Maybe in Hobbs and Shaw 2 she's more involved because she's got the history with Dex. Like, who knows? But I feel like it's one of those things where it's like, do you like her? Do you want more of her? Like, we can do it because that's what we do now. That's how we make movies now, which is not a bad thing because I love her and I want more of her.
I know what you mean. It does feel like they're literally like screen testing her for like, well, listen, it's pretty obvious that The Rock and Vanessa Kirby are going to have a thing over the course of this little side series. So we've got to give Statham somebody to have as well. So here's a little teaser for, is she going to work out, or
that's a very interesting point. You're saying she's a counterpart to Vanessa Kirby's love affair with The Rock, that they need to balance it and give him a woman too, so it's going to be her.
These are American blockbuster movies. I mean, it's like you can't have men and women on the screen together if they're not going to fuck, unfortunately. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're right.
I actually think that Vanessa Kirby and The Rock, despite, I think, probably a decent age difference themselves, are kind of cute together in this movie, and it makes a little bit of sense to me when they finally do get, like, kind of together. And I like that the movie doesn't give them, like, a big together. It's more of just, like, I still, just because I wish one fucking movie would not have the main characters fall in love. Every time it gets to that scene, I'm like, oh, come on. Do we have to do this?
We see it coming the whole time, and you're like, please don't do this. Please don't do this. You're like, okay, it's cute, but, like, stop.
Yeah. Here's the thing. This movie's too long, right? We kind of agree that, like, it's maybe 2 movies crammed into one or whatever. I genuinely think that one of the problems with this movie is that they try to play to some of the melodrama of the series throughout, and that's kind of every time it sort of screeches to a halt a little bit. I kind of think some of that stuff doesn't work, and that actually this movie is clearly modeled after Tango and Cash. If they had just cut most of the melodrama and kept it a really tight 90-minute buddy comedy about these two guys, right? I think when you get to the finale, where what they have to learn is that if they punch together...
An hour and 45 minutes into the movie, they're like, hey, if we work together, we can win. I was like, oh boy.
That scene, in and of itself, in a vacuum, right? That scene where they learn they have to punch together to beat the bad guy, and that's how they'll defeat him, is pure, perfect Fast and Furious. That is melodrama in the Fast and Furious universe. Two brutish men not realizing that if they just worked together and were a family, they could defeat the villain. Like, that is such pure, good Fast and Furious melodrama. But I think in this movie, it doesn't actually play that way. It takes so long to get there, and there are not enough reminders along the way that that's actually the crux of this movie, that these two guys just can't get along. I think if you cut it down to a 90-minute buddy comedy that ends with that scene would be hilarious. And it would work as like the kind of melodrama that we find both compelling but also funny in the way that we like Fast and Furious movies. Does that kind of make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're saying, like, it cut out, like, the scene where, like, they both go through 2 separate hallways to, like, reestablish this. Like, you know, you tone down the, like, them arguing with each other, like, he's an asshole, I won't work with him, those kind of things. Yeah, I agree with you. I like it.
If you focus the movie more on that is actually the plot of the movie, that these two guys just can't get along, then you get to the point where they have to learn to punch together, and that's fucking really funny, actually, and a pretty effective ending. But I think the way it is now, it just, like, there's too much padding elsewhere, and it doesn't quite work.
I think what's weird about this movie is that it's also deceptively long. Like, I messaged both of you because I was running a little bit late, and I'm like, I'm not going to be able to finish in time. I need an extra 15 minutes. The movie ends at 2 hours, and then the runtime is 2:16, because there's, like, a weird 4 or 5 minute, like, kind of montage during the credits, and there's, like, 3 credit scenes.
Oh my god, so many after credits.
Is 2 hours, and it's like, I think it's right before they learn to punch together. I'm like, there's still, like, half an hour of this. I'm like, there's not half an hour of this movie. There's not. There's like 15 minutes.
We're almost done. Yeah.
But I was like, how are we like an hour 42 into a 2:16 movie? Like, this is crazy. It's a weirdly paced. I feel like this is also another one, and another kind of convention of modern movies. People give the Return of the King shit for having like 6 endings. Like, it feels like this movie doesn't know how or when to end.
I agree with that.
I don't know if that's, again, the contractual, structural, like one of them can't get punched more than the other, one of them can't say fuck and the other one can't, like that's why they say it together. I don't know if like they're like, well, we gotta make both happy, so like how do we have an ending where like it's fun but it's also like, as opposed to every other movie that has a definitive like cut to credits, like cut to a cool song, we're out. This is just like, hey, like, let's just have the camera, like, zoom out as they're joking about things. It's like, oh.
But I think that this plays to Garrett's point, which is, like, it's not 2 movies, it's, like, 1.5 movies, right?
Yeah.
Like, you get the first movie, and then when they try to attach the back end of it, then they're like, where do we end this movie? And it kind of just, like, cuts.
I think that there's a pretty definitive point where you realize this movie doesn't have an ending or know quite how to end. When they are on the plane to Samoa, that is such a weird and long sequence in this already long movie.
What, the Kevin Hart part? No, not the Kevin Hart part. Are you talking about that plane scene?
Yeah,
or like,
yes.
Okay.
And not specifically his scene necessarily is not like the problem with that. I think that whole sequence is like too long. I don't even think the jokes of like the costumes they have to wear are that good, since eventually they're not in them anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it just like that. All of that feels to me. That whole sequence feels like we made one movie. We've got this whole Samoa movie that we kind of have to make because The Rock wants us to, and we have to figure out how to thread them together. Somebody call Kevin Hart. We need to invent a 20-minute sequence that gets us from one movie to the other. That sequence feels to me like it was not scripted, like it was just kind of made in the fray as they were realizing we don't know how to connect all of the scenes that we filmed for this movie. That's how it feels. I don't know that that's true, but...
Makes sense. It's like a weird interlude or something.
Yeah. And I mean, even the Ryan Reynolds stuff feels a little bit tacked on. There's definitely some sequences in this movie that feel just a little bit like we don't exactly know what we're doing. So we hired some people we like to kind of come in and flesh out some good jokes.
We've talked about that before. People have written in about that before. It's like very clearly Ryan Reynolds is like, you got 2 days of my time. I'm in one location, make it work. And they're like, okay, like, why is he at the restaurant when he shouldn't be at the restaurant? He's like, oh, it's weird. It's weird that there's nobody here. It's like, well, yeah, because he's not going to go somewhere else. They're like, okay, everybody out. Like, we're resetting for shot 2. Like, it's the same people that everybody loved. Even if they're not, like, they didn't announce that Ryan Reynolds was in it. They did not announce that Kevin Hart was in it. Like, Kevin Hart was even a surprise to us.
Yeah.
And we were always checking, like, rumor sites just in case to see. Like, people were saying, oh, maybe Keanu's in this or whatever. Like, we had no idea that Kevin Hart. Like, I remember Joe and I, like, we freaked out. We're like, oh. And, like, I'm not even a huge Kevin Hart fan, but just like this like surprise of this like A-list megastar. It's like, how did he get in the movie and no one knew?
Frankly, I mean, I think your explanation for both of them is just the pedigree of this movie, right? So David Leitch directed this one, and he is who directed Deadpool 2. So that's how you end up with Ryan Reynolds. Clearly
sense.
Those guys got along and they liked working together, and Leitch probably knew like...
And I guess that's also how you get Rob Delaney too.
Absolutely. And I think it's I would guess that it's like Leitch agreeing to make that already has a start and finish date and needs to be in theaters at this time, go, and him being like, all right, well, let's get Ryan. I need to call in a favor to, like, make something work here. And then with Kevin Hart, that comes from The Rock, right? Like, they've starred in, like, 3 movies together or something, right?
They're buds, for sure.
Either these guys are, like, doing favors for their friends, or more like their friends are coming to do them a favor in a movie where, to me, this movie really does distinctly have the feel of a movie that a little bit got away from the people that were making it, or was never quite there before they started making it.
It definitely feels like they were like, okay, we're going to do a Fast and Furious movie, and everybody's like, easy. And then they like got into it, and they were like, well, what are we actually going to do, right?
I do. It has that distinct feeling to me, I think. And I think, so that's how you end up with people like that in weird scenes like they're in, because it's really just people coming in to do a favor and try and beef up the movie, you know?
Yeah.
Now, I will say that I have loved this movie since the first time I saw it. I was like, this is so much fun. I love it. I never got the criticism. Movie. I will say, though, today, this is the least I've ever liked this movie.
Talking about it or watching it?
Watching it. I mean, the conversation. This is an A-plus conversation, of course. I mean, I love this. I love everything about this.
When we suss out, like, the negatives of it, you know what I mean? Like, now we've had it stand,
even
and we're
before,
talking about the negatives. Okay.
Me coming into this conversation, I like this less than ever before, and I think that is directly correlated with me liking 8 more than ever before. Like, I feel like knowing that Cypher is coming back, and all of our problems and gripes that we had with 8 were like, Cypher just leaves, like she just jumps out of plane. We don't know if she's coming back. We don't know where.
Is she dead? Is she alive? Whatever.
Right, exactly. Yeah. You know, like Owen just shows back up. We're like, where was he? It doesn't matter. He's there for the baby, whatever. All these issues that we had with 8, I feel like the fact that Cypher's coming back in 9 we're like, cool, 8 is setting up something. And then by sort of liking 8 way more than I ever did before, this feels even less essential than it ever did before. Not that I didn't like it, but I feel like I'm so hungry for like canon or main franchise stuff, like drama and like accelerating toward this end game where it's like, I don't know what we're doing here. And it's not that I'm not having a good time, because again, to your point, Garrett, like I love both these leads. I love Hattie. I love everything about like all these actors.
It's a
in this
fun movie still.
Yeah.
But it feels like I'd rather just give me 9. Like I want 9.
Yeah.
I'm ready for like more of whatever, as opposed to this where I'm just like, I'm having a great time, but it feels like, okay, like enough of this. Like I want to get back to the main meal, the main course.
Let me sell you on something here. And by the way, this is coming from who just kind of tore this movie apart, right? Where it's like, I like this movie. I think it's like funny, but it's not great as far as the franchise goes, I think. But I am very curious, and I'm sure you guys have hashed some of this out before on the show, so I apologize. But I am very, very curious. I'm sure you guys have talked about who is the voice.
Yes. Do you have a theory?
It could go right. That could just be Cypher. That seems like a pretty easy
That
bet.
was my
maybe
thinking. Yes, that's my thinking. Yep.
Feels
Easy
like a pretty
bet.
easy bet. Could be Han, maybe. And now
We've
we
had
know
that.
Han is back, and so maybe that makes some kind of sense. Maybe he got part of the same program Brixton did, and that's how he survived something like he.
Oh, so you're
supposedly
saying
died
Han was
from?
evil, but then he's like re-infiltrating the fan? Because that has other parts to it in the
Yeah.
sense that if Han's back and he's with the family, so you think he might have been the voice, might be head of Etion, and then like re-infiltrates the family as like a double agent.
Well, so
kind of?
here's a question for you, Garrett, and this is something that we have basically come to a. It's rare that we like agree. I don't even know. Actually, I take this back. I don't know if we agree on this, but I feel like there is no universe in which, and I still want to get to your theory about 10. There's no universe in which Hobbs and Shaw are not in 10. Like if they're not 9,
Right.
that's okay. I understand that, but
Right.
like I don't see a world in which this main franchise ends without these two sort of divergent paths coming back together. So
Agreed.
Yeah, that was actually going to be my next point, which, and I guess I should clarify one thing, is that I don't have a pitch for 10. I'll actually give that to you now. I have a pitch for like sort of the Lega sequel series you could make.
Okay,
to
okay,
how you
perfect.
how you
Okay.
keep these movies going beyond 10.
Okay.
Okay.
Right? I think that maybe what they're trying to do, because there's this whole thing about these feuds that happen off, on the sets and stuff, and the reason we have a Hobbs and Shaw movie is because The Rock and Vin Diesel don't get along,
Yep.
and all these stories, right?
Although my theory about that is that this is all manufactured. They're
Rat
actually
beef.
getting
Oh,
along,
dude,
and they're just
I'm-
building up.
I am with you. That's literally about to play into what I'm about to
Okay,
say, because I am
perfect.
totally
Love it.
with you. The Rock is a wrestler. He comes from a world of creating this kind of drama
Yep.
in
Yep.
order to fuel the product itself. I think that Vin Diesel probably also gets that. He's a way smarter creative than he gets credit for, right?
Yep.
I think that it's possible all that stuff is manufactured, and I think that realistically what they might be doing by creating the Divergent series is getting really, really specific about there are two families that these movies are about. There are the Torettos and there are the Shaws. In a world where, frankly, I don't have a problem with Shaw becoming a member of the team because I love the melodrama of the series. That feels like a soap opera to me.
Yep.
That the bad guy could just kind of switch back and forth to becoming the good guy and blah, blah, blah,
Yep.
right? I get everybody's thing about that. I get why people don't like that. I get the Justice for Han thing. And in a world where they are clearly listening to fans, they literally put justice in the trailer for 9, right?
Yep.
I think that they realize that is actually what they could build to, is literally a war between two families. That Fast 10 could, because they're introducing, I believe, Dom's brother in 9, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Chase.
I
Yep.
believe that's who, what's his name is playing, John Cena.
Yep.
I think that, and Shaw already has a brother. I think that they are probably building to the Shaw versus Toretto sort of finale to the
Endgame.
series.
So the end game will be the
Yeah.
Torettos versus the Shaws.
That's my theory, and that Hobbs would bring his family along to fight alongside the Shaw family, and that I don't know who would be on the side of Dom's family, right? Like I guess like Mia and Brian's, like Dom's family would be Dom's family. As
Now,
we
how
know it.
does like Cypher and all them fit in? Where do they fall, or are they separate?
I think that's a question for what exactly are they going to do at 9?
Okay.
Is 9 going to be about them defeating Cypher, and that somehow all building to this war between the families, or is Cypher somehow still woven in with all of it? You know what I mean? Like, is she actually a big bad, or is she just part of the stepping stones that get us to that sort of finale?
Because I think, to your point, in a way, it shows like the trailer for 9 is showing that to some extent Cypher and Jacob, Dom's brother,
on the same team.
are the same team. So
Yes,
maybe
yeah.
he turns her.
I think it's more likely that Dom turns Jacob, and Dom defeat Cypher.
If it's going to be Toretto versus Shaw, and I'm wondering where Cypher falls, if Cypher is already on the side, even if it's a neutral third party, like Jacob's side, I think it's easier for her to fall on the side of Dom as opposed to Shaw.
Yep.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like what happened with Dom's child and now don't they execute his baby mama?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, Elena dies.
Yeah, like I don't know. Well, I'm saying that, and then I'm also the guy that's like, well, who cares that Shaw killed Han? He can be part of the family.
Yeah.
But also, okay, so here's another question for you then. So it feels like at the end of 8, when the Shaw brothers save baby Brian.
Yep.
Still a dumb name, I think. It should be Paul. Just call the baby Paul. Like we know.
Oh my God, I hate this argument. I don't understand why it would be named Paul. That is such a weird.
Brian's not dead. He
Fan
just
service.
left.
I know. I know. I understand that the thing of like naming your kid after somebody that's not dead is weird, but I definitely think it's weirder to name him after the actor that's playing the guy.
Name him Vince then. Like I mean, people would be like, who? What? Okay.
Yeah. By the way, frankly, on this point, is 9 going to turn out to also not actually be a sequel and somehow a prequel, and that's why Han's alive? I have no idea.
I think that we started what we were always hoping for, and I think that what's happening is that 8, 9, and 10 are going to be another trilogy.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And that 8 just felt so out of place and weird is because we didn't have 9 and 10.
We didn't have
follow
context, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So at the end of 8, when the Shaw brothers rescue baby Brian and they bring him to the family, and it seems like all is good between him and between Dom and Dex, and it feels like also if now in 9, this is another question that we're thinking, and I'd love to have your thoughts on this.
Yeah.
At what point does Dom know Han is not dead? Because we see him in 6.
we talked about this.
No,
yeah.
7. In 7, fly to Tokyo to quote unquote pick up Han's body, right?
Right.
That's when we see Sean again. Whatever. There's no body because Han is alive, right? And so, at what point does Dom know that Han is alive? Who has he told? If he knows before the end of 8 that Han is alive, why is that why he's okay with Shaw? But then why is he against Shaw in 7? Other than there's just no internal consistency. Like, why is he against 7 for I guess it's just like he's defending himself because Shaw's coming after him for almost killing Owen, and it's not Dom is angry at Shaw for Han, it's just that Dex is angry at Dom for Owen.
He's playing defense. Playing defense, yeah.
I think to some extent, frankly, my answer to a lot of these questions is because it's a soap opera.
Yeah.
Not because there's any actual internal logic to it, right? Because really where most arguments about Shaw fall apart is even within the context of the movies, right? They keep trying to tell us from in 8 and in Hobbs and Shaw that yeah, actually, he's not even that bad a guy. He was sort of forced by his government to
and he's
do
playing
these
family.
Things.
He's playing. The argument that I make with Joey is that he's always playing the same character that Dom is. He's just getting vengeance for what happened to his family.
Sure. Yes. But we also, in the beginning of 7, see that he burns a whole fucking hospital to the ground. Just over what happened to his brother, the way the series has now tried to convince us that nah, he's not that bad. He was forced to do most of the bad things he did. We also saw him literally burn a hospital to the ground just because he was mad about his brother. You know what I mean? It's it is pretty tough to sometimes reconcile the way these movies want us to feel about the evolution of these characters, which is why I'm very comfortable just going yeah, fucking soap opera, do it. I don't care. Now he's good. Go.
Yeah.
It's more fun that way, so let's do it.
It is, yeah.
Now, I mean, maybe now is your time. What is your idea? How do we continue the legacy? We've toyed with having the children. I don't know if it plays in with the children of baby Brian and baby Nico and everything. But
that's my big pitch. My pitch is the Sons of the Furious, which I think that title alone is $1 billion franchise.
Like Sons of Anarchy, Sons of the Furious.
Call it Sons of the Furious. And I think the idea, frankly, I pitched this so many years ago when I initially wrote it that I don't even remember all the details. But the basic idea is that you've got a baby Brian now, right?
Yep.
And you've got Jack as well, right? Jack is Brian's son. Do I have that name
yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I guess Jack would be what, 5 or 6 years older than Brian, if I understand the timeline correctly. Does that feel right?
That feels right. That feels right. Yeah.
There's the other baby too.
Right. Yes, that's right. They had 2 kids.
Maybe
didn't they?
is named Giselle. TBD.
Right.
Yeah, because Mia's pregnant in 7 with an awkward phone conversation.
Right, yes. Where they restructured a bunch of footage from a different movie into that movie.
Yeah.
I think probably what you have is basically a movie that's about these 2 boys who are estranged from their fathers, because Brian is still alive in this universe, right? So you've got these 2 boys that are estranged from their fathers because their fathers are these kind of internationally known criminals, basically, right? I would assume by the time we get to whatever Sons of the Furious is about, our series the sun has set on our series, and these guys, as much as they're heroes to us, are probably known to the world as like crazy international criminals, right?
For sure.
As far as the world knows, they have mostly just been involved with like terroristic attacks, basically.
They're like top 10 most wanted in the universe. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So you've got these kids that are like estranged from their fathers. I think my concept at the time, because I think I wrote this right after seeing 8, I don't know, somehow Cypher would be involved in like basically tricking these kids, these two boys, into like helping her with some kind of crime that ultimately they realize very quickly they've gotten in too deep. They should not be doing what they're doing. Basically have to go to their father's friends for help. And so you end up bringing back people like Tyrese and people, you know
and
what I mean?
Like
you
older.
Yes,
they're
yes,
like the
yes.
sages. They like come to them like, what would you do in this situation type thing.
Yes, they kind of go back to some of our legacy characters to ask for help. Eventually, I think you build to where you get a cameo from Vin Diesel or something, right? Like eventually, at least the one living father has to come back and be in the movie. But now here's my big pitch. Okay, so that's the basics of the story.
There's also just real quick. There's another baby in this franchise. We have Vince's baby, Nico, too. Like Nico could.
Oh yeah,
and too.
But you needed to form the new crew and the new family.
Correct. Right.
So like eventually they pick up Nico, and you're like, oh shit, that's Vince's kid. You know.
I even think there's a place to go. Like, oh, Han and Giselle actually had a kid that we don't know about, and like
Giselle's
he's
not
also
dead. We haven't seen a body. Giselle's still alive.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Right. So like, I think there's room to do that. To go like, yeah, actually, a lot of our characters have kids, and they all end up their own family, right? Yep. But here's my actual big pitch for the movie. So, like, I think those basics for a story are pretty good. I do think you could sell, like, a pretty good Lego sequel series on that idea. But here's my big pitch, which is everybody's always talking about, like, how big do you go with these movies? Obviously, they have to go to space eventually. They got to go to space. Must go to space. I don't think we're going to get there in the series proper, but I think that's the perfect place to go if you are going to continue beyond the series proper, because like let's face it, if we're going to continue beyond the series proper, what are we even doing? Like let's go nuts, right? Like
exactly.
Why even do it if we're not? I genuinely think one of the smartest things they could do with a Fast and Furious Lego sequel is straight up remake Star Wars A New Hope with Fast and Furious characters.
Oh my god.
And I think you could do it without it having to be like a crazy science fiction movie. I think within the context of this universe, you could straight up say that Cypher has built some sort of satellite that is like flying around the world, right? That she can use. That is, yes, the shape of a Death Star. That is like a big circle. And I think that you could have the characters have to like, literally there could be a cool action sequence where it's not a car, it's a rocket ship, and they have to fly, they have to leave the atmosphere to get there. But that once they're there, literally they have to, like, I don't know how to explain this, but like because I think the movie would do the same sort of mumbo jumbo I'm about to do. They've got to blah blah reroute the encryptors to invert the gravity so that they can drive cars on the outside of the big dome satellite and literally do a trench run with cars in space.
Oh, I love it.
Right?
Yeah.
Why can't you do that? That actually makes sense in this universe in some weird way.
You can have somebody like Tej can be Uncle Ben.
Yeah, I think you can actually parallel a ton of characters, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, for instance, maybe if we don't go much further with the whole Etion thing or whatever, maybe Brixton gets to be a Darth Vader character, right?
Love it.
Like,
oh, yeah.
You know, like he
absolutely
actually
do.
kind of fits that description already. You know, it's like I think there's actually a lot of fun to be had, and honestly would be one of the craziest fucking things in movie history that somebody straight up just remade Star Wars A New Hope, but in the context of an entirely different franchise with like entirely different motivations, and you know what I mean?
If there's one franchise that could do it, this is the only one that makes sense.
It's the only one.
Like I guess the closest thing, like Star Wars is a remake kind of the Hidden Fortress. Like there's precedent for like taking a story and redoing it, like Seven Samurai becomes Magnificent Seven or whatever.
Agreed.
But like never with an established franchise. Like we're just like, hey,
but we're hitting that point in time, right? Like we've had enough time that has gone, like literal time, like 40 years, 30 years that you've gone by now that you're like, hey, we could actually do this in a new modern context.
I bet if we looked it up, more time has passed between Star Wars and Fast and Furious than between Star Wars and Hidden Fortress. I bet if we looked it up, that's true.
So Star Wars is 1977, so that was 24 years.
Yeah.
Hidden Fortress, so the cutoff is 53. So let's see here. Hidden Fortress 58. Yeah. So yeah.
Damn.
I think they should do it. I think Sons of the Furious. I think the title itself sells the whole fucking thing. You make $1 billion on the title, Sons of the Furious.
You just need to cast it right. I mean, well,
Yes,
like obviously
yes.
these actors aren't alive yet, right? Because they
Right,
need to be
right.
like 18 or 20 at the time.
The other thing that I kept thinking about is like you could it could also kind of. I think if it was going to have the tone of any of these movies, you'd maybe kind of give it the tone of Tokyo Drift, which was the most sort of young people Fast and Furious movie. I think you'd probably play somewhere in that ballpark.
And you need it, and it needs to be almost like a kid's kind of PG-13y kind of
Yes.
movie to be like, oh, like, look, like, we rebooted it, so, like, this is shit that your dad liked, but, like, if you don't have any affinity to that, like, here we go, we start over,
Right.
and you sell them A New Hope, which is just a great story,
Yes.
right?
Here's the pièce de résistance. It
Uh-huh.
is, we do it in 2027, which is the 50th anniversary of Star Wars. We're
Sure.
like, hey, we're back. They announce it on, while we're at the party, on 1327. Like, hey, franchise has been dormant for a couple of years. You thought we were done.
God.
We're back.
And
It's like,
we are
love
the
it.
announcement party for the new movie. That's
Hell yeah, dude.
perfect, dude.
Yeah.
They come to us. They're like, hey, guys, for some reason we make $1 billion on every one of these movies, but we haven't made one in 6 years.
yeah.
So we need
Well,
your
I'm thinking
help.
like 2 or 3 years. Like I'm thinking we see the next. So we see 9 and 10 and Hobbs and Shaw 2 and the female spin-off, and then they're like, we're gonna pump the brakes for a second. We're not gonna do any more. It's like 2024, 2025. We're like, that's it. That's the last one. We're done. We gotta go back to the drawing board. But then secretly behind the scenes, they're up in outer space. Like Tom Cruise's movie they shoots in outer space is so successful. They're like, okay, all movies now film in space.
It's a James
And so-
Cameron type
Yeah,
thing. Like they're
yeah.
like, we just needed the 4 years to build the cameras
Yep,
for
right.
it. And Justin Lin has a son that like just becomes old enough to become a director.
But we know he has his daughter who's on the bus in Fast 5, right? So she can grow up and she can become a director.
Oh yeah, we can have. Yeah, that was very terrible of me to not consider
Because
her
she'd be
being
like probably 19 or 20. Yeah, sure, of course.
It's Sons of the Furious. Yeah.
Yeah. I also, by the way, I mean, you guys talked about this a little bit. I truly think like all of Hollywood should eventually somehow cross over into like all movies should be Fast and Furious movies and vice versa. With Tom Cruise going to space, if they're eventually going to get a Fast and Furious movie in space, like just leave Tom up there, put him in the movie. Come on.
Oh yeah, let him be the villain. Let him be
Yeah.
a guy that they link up with and
Yeah.
they need for something. I
Hell
agree
yeah.
with you.
Is there a particular franchise that you would love more than any other to cross over into this franchise?
Oh, actually, frankly, Dan and I talk about this all the time. I would actually love to see the Triple X movies cross over with the Fast and Furious movies, and for Dom to meet Xander Cage.
Oh, so they're two different people. So it's not like an Italian Job where,
Well,
where Deckard
yeah.
is
We've
Handsome
pitched
Rob.
Yeah, we've pitched both actually, and I think maybe the Deckard being revealed to be Handsome Rob maybe swayed us away from it. Actually, turns out that Xander Cage is just Dominic Toretto. You know what I mean? Because
Okay.
that was one of our pitches at some point, that it's just revealed that they're the same man.
Last lap, we had the Brian O'Connor / Paul Walker lap, and so in between the Fast and Furious movies, we watched Paul Walker movies.
Oh, yeah.
And so every time we watch one of those movies, we're like, well, how could this character become
Brian.
Brian? Or how
Oh,
did Brian
yeah.
become this character? So like,
How is this Brian somehow?
right. And so like, in Brick Mansions, he's a cop, and so like it just makes sense. But like, when we do, like, I don't like, it's not a stretch to say like Bloodshot is Dominic Toretto, that Xander Cage is Dominic Toretto. Like it's all
Right.
like, they're all different kind of movies, but like they're all of a certain type, right? And I know it's not always like Groot is not necessarily Dominic Toretto, but like
Yeah.
it could be. I mean, if we watch
Right.
Guardians of the Galaxy, like how does Groot, and I think I don't remember, somebody write in or we heard somewhere, like there was a theory about how Groot and Dominic Toretto were the same person, or like they wanted, I don't know. Yeah, there's ideas out there is all I'm saying.
No, I'm into it, and I truly, that just makes sense to me, that the just reveal that they're either the same character or two different characters in the same universe.
Yeah.
Somehow they feel of a piece.
Yeah. Any other thoughts about Hobbs and Shaw before you play a couple games?
I don't think so. I think I was able to exhaust all of my thoughts.
I'm unpacking this whole A New Hope, new franchise theory. I really enjoy it. I'm going to take that with us for a while. I'm really
I love
thinking
it.
on this one.
I'm
chewing
so
on
glad.
it.
I'm glad that it was what I promised it would be, right?
It's good.
yeah.
I like it.
Okay, it's now time for you to find out which Fast and Furious character you are. 7 questions, 6 answers per question. This is describing you, who you are, how you see the world, how you see yourself. No wrong answers. Go with God.
Okay.
Go with the car
Great.
gods, man.
Yeah,
Okay.
got it.
Question number 1, how fast are you? NASCAR, roller coaster, Lamborghini Murcielago, Toyota Prius, Vespa, or Razor scooter?
Wow. God. Razor scooter.
Okay,
Ooh,
very cool,
okay.
very cool, not very fast. Now, question number 2, you know it's coming. How furious are you? The Hulk, Kylo Ren, Christian Bale on that one movie set that one time, Mel Gibson, Charlie Brown, or Jack McBrayer?
Oh, man. Has anyone ever said Mel Gibson, by the way? Has anybody ever
I don't
actually
think so.
gone
I
like,
don't
think that's an answer.
Mel Gibson wasn't one of the answers?
No, it is. I'm saying I don't think we've ever gotten that as an answer.
A lot of
who
people say
would?
the Hulk. Like this, they surprise us. The Hulk, I think, and Christian Bale are the two most common.
Yeah, I mean, Christian Bale is kind of a funny answer just because that's like such a weird moment of movie history. But like, you know, I can't imagine anybody ever chooses Mel Gibson. Nobody wants to like align with that guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Actually, I guess probably because I do enjoy that answer so much. Christian Bale.
Okay. We're having a barbecue. How are you helping? Are you manning the grill, saying grace, kicking back with a beer, babysitting, being the entertainment, or sneaking a snack?
Oh wow, so many of those apply to me. But frankly, probably being the babysitter. I feel like whenever I'm at the barbecue, I'm like the I don't know, I'm the funkle, the fun uncle, right?
Okay.
Okay.
Cool. You've got time to kill. What are you doing? Are you grabbing a bite, working on your car, hanging with friends, drinking a beer, working out, or working on your computer?
Probably drinking a beer.
Okay. Are you married? I know you mentioned your partner before. Are you married or are you not married?
Not married.
Okay. So now please describe your dream wedding. I'm never getting married. It's just me and my partner. It's us and our families. It's a backyard country affair. Everyone I know is there. I don't remember.
It's probably us and our families.
Okay.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Garrett. You just won the lottery. What are you buying? Your own garage, a private plane. I'm gambling it all away. My childhood home, a fleet of cars, or a new life. Tough.
Man,
Tough.
That is tough, actually. I think my own garage.
Okay. Very cool. Last question. What is your drink of choice? Belgian ale, Corona, something fruity, water, whatever's cheapest, or just whatever you're having. Like Joe's getting a drink, just get me whatever you're having.
I feel so dumb saying this, but honestly, lately I really have been enjoying like a lot of hazy IPAs and stuff. I think something fruity.
Nice.
Joe, do you have any guesses on who he is?
I'm going to take a wild guess that it's Mia.
It is Mia. Mia
Whoa.
Toretto. Is it because of the babysitting answer?
I think babysitting something fruity, garage were probably it, is what tipped me off.
Getting behind the scenes for a second, getting in the weeds for a second, I'm going to describe who you are. We're going to see if this actually applies to you. I am a Mia, so I welcome you into the Mia Club.
Okay.
The way that we have it, like sometimes there are real spikes. Like it's very, very easy to get Dom because like if you're thinking about the questions and thinking about like how to describe Dom, like you can get Dom pretty easily. Your distribution is kind of even. There's a bunch of characters that like you almost were. You only by 1 point. You were very, very, very barely Mia over Brian. You were almost
Whoa.
Brian, but you edged out with a Mia. It was that last question that put you over.
That's interesting.
Fruity.
Would any of the other answers have put me in Brian, or would they have shifted me
Corona.
around further? Yeah.
If you just pick Corona over...
Whatever you're having would have put you there. Whatever's cheapest would have put you there. Water would have put you there.
So like all of the other answers would have put me there. That's funny.
I think so. It was more like, oh, actually, if you had Belgian ale, you would have been Mr. Nobody, which is another very common answer.
Oh,
so
yeah,
you're on the
interesting.
bridge of a few different ones. But here is Mia Toretto. Let's see if this sounds like who you are. Written by friend and patron Wes Hampton. Family means everything to you, but people often mistake you for being meek or non-confrontational. You tend to take on a supporting role and let others handle the more exciting tasks because it's more important to you to know that someone is watching over everyone else than to seek glory for yourself. Even so, you're not afraid to jump into the fray when your family's on the line and you drive like the wind blows.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate, I think.
Cool.
I'm into that.
They're scary good. I
Yeah.
think that they kind of nail it. Yeah.
So you guys came up with this quiz yourself? This isn't just like an online quiz that
So
you're
there was
like
an online
adapting,
quiz that we
or-
were using that we did
Okay.
not like. We're like, this
Yeah.
is boring.
we
There's
found
only
this
6
quiz
outcomes.
on Zimbio.com,
Yep.
and it was like, a lot of the questions are from there, a lot of the answers are from there, but we were like, hey, we could do better than this. So we expanded on it. So you have some relics from the original quiz.
Also,
in
what was
here.
weird about the original quiz was like, how fast you, how furious are you? And like, we didn't really know the references for some of the answers. Like, people were like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, I don't know. We didn't come up with the quiz. So like, now we have like a better basis for
right.
it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So yeah, so we are adding the 5 new characters. So you have to come back at some point. You have to take the new
Yes,
quiz
we
with
will.
the new characters.
Please. Well, I mean, we also hopefully will have a new Fast and Furious for you
please.
to even add some more characters from.
Absolutely.
Well, they at least have 9. When we'll see it is a different question.
Yeah.
I mean,
know.
we'll have to add Jacob at some point, right? We'll have to
Yeah.
add probably other people. Who knows?
I'm very hopeful that he's going to be like a fun addition to.
Are we going to
series.
split Han into 2 and it's going to be like revived Han or original Han?
We got to see how they play his character.
That's the other thing I'm curious about too, because I think Chris Morgan wrote Hobbs and Shaw, right?
Writer, no, he did write Hobbs and Shaw. You're right. He did not write 9. That's right. He went this way.
Yes.
He went this way. And so that's interesting to me because he's had the keys to this franchise for a while. It's a little weird to me that he went for the side stories and not the main franchise. And that makes me curious about what 9 will be and where it'll build to. But I do think that you guys are right that 8 was kind of the beginning of something that he probably planned. So, I think 9 probably still will have at least his influence on it.
Yeah.
And anyway, what I'm curious about is if the Etion thing is actually meant to be like a larger part of the larger universe.
That's what
and
we
if
wonder.
That's how we're going to get like a Han back. You know what I mean? I'm very curious how much that's actually going to play into this movie or not.
Oh, I totally forgot that the guy who wrote F9 wrote Kin, and I don't really like bashing any movie, but Kin is one of the worst movies I've seen in the last 5 years. And
I have heard that, Dan also didn't, strongly disliked Kin. He, watched Kin and had a very strong reaction.
Kin was a movie that, I think I might have even said this before on this podcast when I remembered it the first time, is that, Kin was a movie I had never heard of, and then back when I was, AMC A-List, and I was just checking what movies are new releases, it was in the Dolby Theater. And, the Dolby Theater is, always just, it's kind of the IMAX. It's, the big, the big releases. And I was like, Kin is in Dolby. I'm like, what is this movie? And it's, this sci-fi thing. I'm like, let me check that out. And, it was, 20 minutes in, I was like, I'm going to leave. And I stuck it out, and I'm like, it doesn't get better.
Oh, you almost left.
I wanted to leave. Yeah, it's not good.
Wow, that's bad, dude. You watch a lot of shitty movies. I mean,
know.
you sit through a lot of movies, so...
I've never walked out... I still never walked out of a movie. The closest I came was Kick-Ass 2. That's the closest I came to walking out of a movie.
Yeah, I never even saw that. Is Kin the movie with the kid with the neon gun?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember Dan saying, he was like, it's not even it's particularly bad. It's actually that it's particularly just kind of bland.
Yeah,
and
bland is the worst.
Stinks.
That's my least favorite kind of movie.
Yeah.
I agree.
And it's an hour 40. It's not overly long. It just feels forever long, right?
Yeah.
And also, Carrie Coon is in it. James Franco's in it.
Right,
Zoe
good
Kravitz is in it.
pedigree,
It's got great people. It's just, what are you doing, movie? Next up, this ain't no 10-second race, a.k.a. Boy Do We have a podcast for you. So now, Garrett, I would like you to go on twitter.com and find any tweet from anyone that you think when we reply to them from @TooFastTooForever by saying, boy, do we have a podcast for you, and linking them to our show page, they might like the podcast. So you'll get points if the person we tweet at likes the tweet, if they retweet the tweet, if they reply to it, or if they write into the show. So it's very, very difficult. This game is wildly difficult to play. While you look on twitter.com for any tweet about really anything, usually about Fast and Furious, but it can be about anything, look on that, send it over to me, either Soul Popped or Too Fast, Too Forever. Look it over, send it to me. I'm going to review, Joe, we played on episode 100.
Oh, we did? Okay, cool.
I don't think we got any traction, but let's see here. So, okay.
I already have a thought, but I want to find a good one.
And again, it's wildly difficult for almost no reason. So I found, first off, Amy Lopan at Amy Lopan said, my BF has never seen a Fast and Furious movie. I should show him only the first one and the most recent one, so he can be all, what the hell happened between those two movies?
Yep.
And so that's actually kind of a Garrett thing. It's just I'll see the first one, I'll see the seventh one, we'll see what happens. And then I replied to Everything is Terrible at S.A. Caitlin, and they said, man, but you can't skip Tokyo Drift. And I said, boy, do we have a podcast for you. Nothing. Of course not. Why would they?
Yeah, exactly.
No points. Joe, you found
the best tweet
Django
ever
at Sweet Life Mullen. And this is the one that I was like, man, I was so mad that you got this.
I jacked your steez, yeah.
Fast and Furious could show 100 times in one day. I'll watch it every time. Boy, do we have a podcast for you. Nothing.
Makes sense.
So again, Garrett, there's no pressure because almost every time we play this game, we don't get anything.
I got one.
What I was trying to find, just so you guys know, do you guys know who Jen Yamato is?
I know the name, but I don't remember who that is.
I don't know. No.
She's a reviewer, and she loves Fast and Furious movies. She's a big Justice for Han person on Twitter. She's great, and I was trying to find one of her Justice for Han tweets, but I can't, and I was going to try and get you to respond to it. So I'll try and find something just more active and recent. That was going to have to be me digging anyway.
Mine is from FA2 Star at fave_JUE. It's a retweet quote tweet. Somebody, Aaron Lee, asks, if 2020 was a movie, what would it be? She replies, Fast and Furious and Star Wars.
Oof. Boy,
do we have a podcast for you. This episode specifically.
I am about to message you a tweet.
All right, Garrett, please hit us, read it, who it's from, and then then read what the tweet is.
I think this says at Trangangdong.
Something like that. Yeah, I don't know how to say it either. Yep.
Yeah, and the tweet is, if straight people can have like 20 Fast and Furious movies, then the gays should be allowed to have at least 10 more Mamma Mia movies.
Boy, do we have a podcast for you.
That's incredible. Oh, that's a good one. I love it.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Yeah, of course. I think, have 10 more Mamma Mia movies. I'm about it. Cher will be alive for all of them anyway, so.
Can't believe I nailed that so hard.
That's a good one, yeah. I hope they reply. They're going to be like, why the fuck did you send me that?
I know. They're going to be like, this is literally not what I asked for. This is the opposite of what I asked for.
The complete opposite. I don't want 100 episodes of a Fast and Furious podcast. I just want 10 more Mamma Mias. God damn it.
This might be a bot. I don't know.
Even better.
Hobbs and Shaw on Twitter, at Sewer Love. And it just says, this is from 3 hours ago, Han and Bow Wow will return in Avengers Endgame. Boy, do we have a podcast for you.
That's a good one, too. I like that one.
Wow. That feels like they gave AI a Twitter account, and they were like, here's film Twitter of the last, 6 years. Now start tweeting.
That's kind of Joe's idea. It's like, how can we make these people think that a bot found them? But it's like weird. Like, why would they find this tweet? Of all the tweets on Twitter, why would they find this tweet to talk about?
And they're not replying to, every Fast and the Furious tweet, right? And, we have real tweets. So, if you went to our Twitter page, you'd be like, how the fuck did they find me? It's like these 3 tweets are what they replied to like this. This is so strange.
Very, very weird. One more game, and I feel like maybe, based on how you described yourself before, you might be on Joe's team, but this is your choice. It's called Dude, What's My Car? And the thing behind this is that I know almost nothing about cars. I'm learning a little bit through the podcast, but I know almost nothing about cars. Joe knows a good amount about cars. People email in pictures of cars, and I describe them and try to get Joe to guess what they are based on my rudimentary descriptions.
Oh, I'm going to be way more on your side of this, Joey.
You want to help me give
I have
clues?
learned to love cars. I don't know shit about cars.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to email you. I'm going to forward an email from someone. Let's see what the oldest one we have. Okay, this one is from Hector, so I'm going to send this to you.
Okay.
The subject line, Joe, good luck with this car pick number 2.
Oof.
It says, sup, Joey's,
start.
here's another car pick for y'all. My younger brother requested me to send it to y'all.
Okay.
This might be one of the craziest cars I've seen that's not ugly. Here it is, gotta go, stay fast, stay furious.
Okay.
It is a crazy car, I can tell you that much. We have first...
Yeah, would you agree with his assessment that it's crazy but not ugly?
I don't know that it's ugly. I don't know that it...
It's not my type of car. I'm not into this style.
I mean, yeah, it's not the Isetta, I can tell you that much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's like if a third grader described a cool car.
Okay.
It's a cool car, but there's weird stuff going on.
I hope this is helpful. It feels to me like if you were talking to somebody in 1981 and asked them to describe a cool car from the future, they would describe this.
Or it's or even more specifically in same time period, pull someone walking out of the original Blade Runner and be like, okay, in 35 years there's going to be a sequel. What does the car in that movie look like?
Yeah.
They might say this car.
Yeah. Okay.
The color is kind of cobalty. I hope that helps.
Okay, yeah.
The car kind of looks like a dragon?
Like a dragon.
Okay.
The front is definitely face-like. It is Italian.
Okay.
It also kind of looks like a Batmobile.
I was going to say that. I think especially if you're looking at it from the back.
From the back,
end,
yes.
It's got a real Batmobile feel.
Actually,
to
here's
it.
maybe even a more elaborate, more in-depth Batmobile description. From the front, it looks like a Christian Bale Batmobile. From the back, it looks like a 90s Batmobile.
Oh, I think I might know the make, but I don't know any of the models for that make.
What's the make?
Is it a Pagani?
Nope.
I don't even know the difference between make and model.
So make is like a Ford Focus. The make is Ford, and the model is Focus.
Got it. Yeah. Got it.
Oh, this is actually very, very cool. So this is I'm still not giving you the answer, but it is a high performance, limited edition, lightweight, track only car.
Okay.
Came out in 2010-ish, which also tracks because it's I think going back to what Garrett was saying before, it's like a futuristic car, but I don't think it's a futuristic car that we would describe as now. You wouldn't make this car now as a futuristic car, I don't think.
No, in fact, this car I think today probably looks a little cheesy.
Yeah.
And dated.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's futuristic but dated.
And I think I can help you with just the make is more popular than you were thinking.
Has a dragony type feel.
So the inside, there is NOS in the passenger seat, like in front of the passenger seat.
There's NOS in it?
Yep.
Okay.
There's a canister of some
They're
kind.
showing off a canister like on the where your feet would go from the passenger side.
So the interior is a lot of red. The eyes of what I'm calling the dragon face are red. It's a very sleek, low-profile car, but it's also like wildly contoured. Like a lot of these kind of cars are very sleek, minimal, just like all very curvy lines. This is like curvy lines that are also intercut with like jagged lines. Like it's a kind of.
So it's a Lamborghini.
It is a Lamborghini.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just noticed some things that I actually might know enough about to talk about that I don't know if these will be helpful. But
Please.
He mentioned it. I think he mentioned it can only. It's a track car. Is that how you reference it?
Yep.
Track car. So the mechanics, the steering block, all that stuff, where you would normally have, a normal car would have a clock and blah blah blah. The console. This just has like 3 buttons. The steering wheel has like 4 buttons on it. And then I think I'm right about what I'm looking at. This has those shifters. It's not like a shifter on the floor. It's like the
paddle shifter?
Yeah, you pull like a paddle
on the wheel.
Yeah, yep, yeah.
Yeah, all the Italians shifted to these like paddle shifters like a little bit before this. Like Ferrari did it. They hit a point in F1 where their paddle shifters were faster than you could physically manually shift. It's ultimately better, right? So like you can't get faster than this. And then there was like a bunch of guys that were like, but we like a manual, so they wanted that. Okay. So it's a Lamborghini. Is it some kind of like special Aventador or something?
No, it's not an Aventador. I know the Aventador because it's in like Forza games, but it's also in a Nicki Minaj song, I think.
Yeah.
This is it's a model that I've never heard of. I don't know if it's they might have only made one. Like I don't know if they made a bunch of these or not.
I'm not gonna get it if it's like something weird like this. Okay, I got Lamborghini.
Let me look up on Wiki. Let me see if I can get more. The name is a reference to the atomic number of carbon, in recognition of the car's extensive use of carbon fiber. Now, you're a scientist. You know carbon's atomic number.
16.
You were close.
4.
You're less close.
8.
It's 6.
6. That's right. Okay. Yeah, never mind. Wow, my good science came out there. I haven't looked at a periodic table in fucking years.
Oh, they only made 20 of these between 2011 and 2012. It was assembled in Sant'Agata Bolognese. It's a track day car, 2-door coupe, mid-engine all-wheel drive. It's related apparently somehow to the R8 or the Lamborghini Gallardo.
Okay.
This is the Lamborghini Sesto Elemento, which is the sixth element.
That's
Fifth element is love. The sixth element is this car.
yeah, exactly.
So here I'm going to put you on Facebook. I'm going to give the pictures.
Send me it. I don't know what this is. I want to see it and see if I
It is in The Dark Knight, the Batmobile, or at least the car that Christian Bale has that he has is a Lamborghini, I think, right?
Yeah, it is. And it has like the back of an Aventador, and it looks like this is cool. This is really, really cool.
Lamborghini Dark Knight. Oh, it's a brand new Lamborghini Aventador LP 704.
Yeah,
He replaced the Murcielago, which he was driving in the Dark. Oh, in the Dark Knight Rises, it's an Aventador. In Dark Knight, it was a Murcielago.
Makes sense. Yep. It definitely looks like an Aventador a lot. Like this is definitely an inspiration.
Doesn't the front kind of look like a dragon?
Yeah.
Like
I get
the red eyes, and then like the headlights, which I did not, are kind of like the cheeks that are going to flare red as it breathes fire.
Yeah, once you gave me the curvy but also very jagged, like that's a dead giveaway for Lamborghini. This is cool. Does it actually have? Is that NOS there? Like, I guess that has to be the NOS.
I don't know what else would be, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I guess
It's very cool though. I like it. So thank you.
It's
Hector.
really cool. Thank you, Hector. Sorry I didn't get that one, but yeah, it looks like an Aventador, man.
Well, Garrett, thank you so much for joining us. This was a blast. Thank you for sharing your ideas about the Sons of the Furious.
I won't forget that anytime soon.
And all of the Hobbs and Shaw factoids. If people want to learn more about you, you have your own podcast, you've mentioned you've written online before. Where can people find you if you want to be found online?
Yeah, so I'm on Twitter at Philadelphia. That's with an F. I have a letterboxd.com/Philadelphia. I review everything I watch there. Cool. And then I also write for cinema76.com, which I would encourage people to check out. We are currently, the whole staff is writing about some of our favorite flops of the last 25 years.
What have you written about? What have you personally written about?
So I have not written any of these yet. Mine are upcoming, but I will be writing about Speed Racer, which may be of interest to people that listen to your show.
Yes.
Speed Racer is maybe one of the most underrated movies of the last 2 decades, so I'm very excited to write about it.
Speed Racer, I don't know if I've said this in this podcast or not. I've said it somewhere at some point, maybe on a podcast with Mike. I don't know.
I've never seen the movie. I've only watched the cartoons, like the originals.
I never saw the movie until I was right before I moved back from Austin. The Draft House was doing an entire Wachowski retrospective. I saw as many of their movies. I think I saw everything but Bound in theaters. I think I just missed Bound, but I saw the rest. I had never seen Speed Racer before, and I was in a crowd filled with people who loved Speed Racer. Like, this movie, most people, I think, hate, and I think wrongly so. But I was watching in a crowd filled with people, like, cheering during races. I was like, this rules. Like, this is the best way.
It's the best experience.
I love that movie. Like, it is, whenever we get to a modern car lap, and we do have one planned, we are definitely 100% covering Speed Racer because, man, oh man, it's wonderful and weird and, like, very over the top in a lot of ways, but it's great.
The first time I actually only saw it for the first time a couple of years ago, and it really blew me away, but, like, this was my genuine reaction to that movie the first time I saw it, was like, this is fucking disgusting. This is the most disgusting thing I have ever seen on the screen. And I've now grown to just love absolutely everything about the way that looks, you know? But when you first see it, you're just like, how... I don't even understand
how
they got
jarring.
Yeah, you're just like, I don't even know how they got all of this on the screen at once. Like, how what are my eyes supposed to look at?
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's truly wonderful. It's like a really, really, it is the kind of Hollywood family movie that they don't make anymore. Is just a joy.
Yeah.
Oh, and please check out my podcast. I like to movie.
Yes, please. And and that's on Twitter too, right?
Yeah, I like to movie. It's numeric 2.
Very cool.
We can get down with that for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we got to have, so Dan also likes these movies. Is that what you're saying?
Dan Scully loves the shit out. I mean, he was the original, like, Fast and Furious lover, I think. He loves these fucking movies, and he would love to join you, yeah.
All right, so Joe, on this Friday, new month, July, Friday the 3rd, we are watching It's a Mad, Mad World.
I'm excited.
So, very cool. We're kicking it way old school, 1963, which might be the oldest. No, wait, Two Lane Blacktop was from...
50-something, right?
That sounds
Blacktop.
Right. I think that's...
58, I want to say maybe?
I was saying 58.
71. Wait, whoa. Maybe the car is from the 50s.
That's right. You're right. The car was from 58 or something. That's right. The main car, yeah.
I think this might be the oldest movie that we're doing, 1963. That's pretty old. I mean, a lot of the ones we've settled in the groove is 1970s, but here, 1963, it's a mad world.
I've never seen this movie. Do you guys know that the movie Rat Race is based on this movie?
No, but that makes
sense. You mean, I love Rat Race. Rachel and I got drunk and started rewatching it the other day, like the Seth Green one.
Yeah, I saw that in theaters when I was a kid. I loved that movie.
I love Rat Race. It's so much fun. It's just so stupid.
So I think this is like... again, no shade on Rat Race. I think this is like a good Rat Race, kind of. Like,
right, yeah. Yeah, this movie is like one of the classic screwball comedies, I think.
Okay, cool.
All I know about it is that, like, what I said to you last episode, Joe, is that, like, people have said, like, there's no way you could make this movie today. I don't know.
Okay.
They did, baby, and they called it Rat Race.
They called it Rat Race. But for all things Rat Race and all things Too Fast, Too Forever, you go to cageclub.me, facebook.com/TooFastTooForever, or at Too Fast, Too Forever on Twitter and Instagram. Email us, family@cageclub.me. Check out our Patreon page at TooFastTooForever.com. Remember, you get one pick per lap at that $10 a month tier if you want to pick 3 movies next year, so there's a lot to do there. Also, if you have not yet voted and this also goes for you too, Garrett, if you want to vote in the Fast and Furious Too Fast, Too Forever Hall of Fame, go to cageclub.me/bracket. Get your votes in. We're closing those up in a week or two-ish.
Oh, damn. Okay, quick.
Guys, if you don't think I voted on this the day you announced it, you're out of your goddamn mind.
Oh, you might have been one of the first people to vote. That's very true. Okay, very cool.
Joey's trying to not read the votes, so he's...
Yeah, I see the response come in via email, and I just see who it was, and I archive it, so like it's kind of in one ear, out the other, or in one eye, out the other, but I appreciate it. So cageclub.me/bracket. Do like Garrett, civic duty, vote for the Hall of Fame, and then vote for Joe Biden.
Yeah, vote or die.
I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe, too.
And that was Garrett Smith of I Like to Movie, and we'll see you next time right here on Too Fast, Too Forever. Peace out, you anus.